¿Lista?
I think so.
Okay. Guillermina Sutter Schneider, bienvenida al podcast.
Thank you.
Would you please begin with your date of birth?
June 15th, 1990.
And where were you born?
In Rosario, Argentina. That's like the second biggest city in the country.
How far is it from Buenos Aires?
A 3-hour drive. Yeah.
What was it like growing up in Rosario and in Argentina?
It was, for the most part, it was fun. So I went to high school there, I went to college there, I had my first job there, and then it was fun until, when I started getting bored about, the whole lifestyle, and I don't know, I got bored, and then I left.
What do you mean you got bored?
Well, it's not only that I got bored, it's that I started traveling when I was 18, 17 years old, and everything, all the countries that I was going to, I don't know, it's just like it opened my mind, and then I got bored because I didn't see myself growing up in that city any longer.
In just that city or that country?
Well, I would say in that country, particularly Rosario. But yeah, in that country too. By the time I left Argentina in 2015, the country was like going through like an awful economic crisis again, and I couldn't find a job just to pay for my, own apartment. At that time I was 25. I was still, 24. I was still living with my parents, and I couldn't find a job that, could let me, for rent. So, it was a fucking disaster. And I started looking for jobs abroad. Especially in Europe, not in Latin America, in Europe and in the States. And I finally I got a job in Washington, D.C. I went through the whole visa process for my work visa, an H-1B visa. And I finally moved in September 2015 to Washington, D.C. to start a new fucking life and live the American dream.
And is that where you live now?
Yeah.
Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So you lived there for 5 years.
Yeah. So I lived in Maryland when I first moved.
But basically Washington, D.C.
Well,
right?
yeah, the DMV area. I was in Maryland for like 3 months. Then I moved to Ballston in Arlington, Virginia. I lived there for 2.5 years. And now I'm in the city. I'm in D.C.
Big girl in the big city.
I know. I was so looking forward to it. But now I miss Arlington really bad sometimes.
The city's too much?
Yeah, it's like, yeah. I don't get me wrong, I really like it. But I miss the outdoorsy feeling of, Arlington.
And what do you do in Washington, D.C.?
I'm currently working at a libertarian think tank.
And what do you do there?
I do many things. I started as a research assistant, and then, I don't know, I started doing other stuff like designing books.
Whoa, when you said research assistant at first, what does that mean?
Well, I did research. So I started in our international development department. I was doing research oriented, focused primarily on Latin America. So I basically started looking at different indicators for different Latin American countries, and sometimes
economic indicators.
Yeah, social indicators, economic indicators, and just to support our scholars like research. And that's what I was basically doing.
So like the think tank has scholars who basically write papers.
Yeah, we do policy, so public policy. So basically what we do basically like research focused on like different areas, education, foreign policy, and in my case, international development. Immigration, exactly.
Yeah.
And
your department is international development.
Yeah. It includes immigration, and we have a bunch of people from India, Russia, Eastern Europe, Turkey. Yeah.
And so when you started, your job was basically to...
Yeah, just look for numbers to support the scholars like different theories to see if if what they are like actually saying is actually true, quote unquote.
And you said it's a libertarian think tank.
Yeah.
And so did you specifically look for a libertarian think tank? Were you just trying to get a job anywhere?
Oh no.
How did you end up at a libertarian think tank?
First off, I was looking for a job abroad. Period. I was not targeting any think tank or organization based on the political leaning. I was just looking for a job abroad. Period.
Were you looking in any areas? Would you have been a nanny?
Well, yeah. I entertained that idea for 2-3 days. I was just I was looking for getting the fuck out of Argentina.
Right. That was the primary goal.
Exactly.
And then
if I ended up, landing a job like the one I ended up, landing, then that was going to be a even better situation. But at first to be honest, I was even looking at Canada. Canada, they had a city apparently, and I don't know if this is true, but I once clicked on, I went on a website, and it was this Canadian city that was offering a permanent resident if you end up moving there, and it's this Canadian city in the northern Canada.
That's the North Pole.
Basically, exactly. I was gonna live there with Santa Claus, and I'm I don't care. Just sign me up.
Damn.
Yeah. I also looked into au pair jobs, but then I'm so bad with babies that I entertained that idea for 3-4 days, and then I was what am I gonna do? Just being with a baby for 3 months, and that even didn't guarantee me a full stay, a permanent stay in that country, right? Then I also started so as an Argentinian we have a big European background because of the immigration in the 1800s. So most of Argentinians
just the 1800s, huh?
Well, yeah. Well, from the 1800s onwards, and it's kind of easy for Argentinians to get a European citizenship. My family's background is German, mainly from my dad's side, then some Italian, and then Spanish from my mom's side. So I also started looking for different avenues to get the citizenship, the European citizenship, but apparently, I couldn't. I couldn't. So, I basically was, looking forward, to leaving the country. Asia was never an option. Sorry. But Asia was never an option. Africa, I don't know. I don't want to move from a, shithole country to another, shithole country. No. So it was basically my search was basically focused on Europe and North America.
What was it about Argentina that you were so sick of?
Well,
aside, you mentioned like lack of job opportunities. Were there other aspects of or lack of job opportunities that you found satisfactory?
Yeah, so I saw that my high school friends and then my friends from college, they were basically going through this, it was like an assembly line where they were just, they graduated from high school, then they graduated from college, and then they were marrying their boyfriends from like, I don't know, 5 years. And after that, they were getting a job that not necessarily was like related to what they had studied. And I'm like, this is like kind of like fucked up because like I don't see myself doing that. And also I had been, traveling, and that kind of like opened, I don't know, it opened my mind. I'm like, I want to do something else. I don't see myself, graduating from college and then just like, getting a job and settling. I don't know. I didn't see myself doing that. And I don't know. Yeah. And then that was like one part. And the other reason why is the economic situation in Argentina. It was like at the time I left, we had like a 50% like inflation rate. The poverty rate was almost above 30%. Very difficult to get a job, and the labor market is not as open or flexible as in other countries, and I was like, I want to get the fuck out of here.
Mm-hmm. What did you study in college?
My degree is in economics.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I did like other stuff. I also did 2 years of violoncello, which is like a music degree.
Cello, I think.
Cello.
It's cello,
yeah.
Right? You said that to me before, violoncello, but it's just
violoncello.
cello.
Yeah, it's the same.
Just a cello,
oh,
right?
Okay.
Violoncello. Is it? I'm asking.
No. It's violoncello, but the short like name for it is cello.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You did that in college?
Yeah, I did
like
both.
Officially, you were studying music?
Yeah, I was going both. I was planning on getting my degree both in economics and violoncello at the same time. So I started college when I was in 2008, and I was like in the public university in Rosario, in my city, and I loved economics. I really liked it.
When did you start studying economics for the first
2008.
time? That was the first time?
Well, yeah, I mean, I took some like economics courses during high school.
Like macroeconomics, microeconomics?
It was like economics, like general, like
right.
And that's when I think I liked it because of my teacher. She was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, I want to do this. And also it was like, I've always been like kind of like that type of person who does the weird stuff. So in Argentina, usually, if you're gonna start a career in like, let's say like business in general, like economics in general, like most people that do business administration or accounting, right?
Okay, yeah.
Very few people do economics, and those three careers, they're like in the School of Economics and Accounting, I think, in the university in Rosario. So I don't know, and I wanted also to make it like more. I don't know. I started. How can I put this? I picked the career that was like the most difficult one in that school for sure, in the School of like Business and Economics. And second, the one that was like very few people actually choose that career. Because, like, no one actually knows what you're gonna end up doing or, you know, once you graduate. Because, like, it's very, like, general. Broad. Yeah. What you can end up doing, you can go in finance, or then you can do research, as I ended up doing. It's very, like, general what you know, or broad what you can end up doing. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna do that because it was like also like a personal challenge. And then in 2009, I've always like.
It's also, sorry to interrupt. It's also a super interesting time to start studying economics. 2008, 2009. That's right when there was the global financial crash.
Yeah. Was
that like a big part of your? Did you talk about that stuff in class and stuff?
No, not at all.
What the fuck? Really?
Not at all. Yeah, no.
Why?
I think I read some stuff, but on my own. But you gotta understand that. I don't know how this like whole thing is in like other like Latin American countries, but the whole like economics career is just like theory. You can talk. I could probably like remember some like professors talking about the crisis.
Yeah.
But not really, to be honest.
I mean, you can.
But it was like basically focused on like theory, and okay, this is like theory. I don't know, like Keynes' theory on money growth, or this is like Friedman's theory on money growth. But then I don't actually remember talking about the financial crisis.
Well, ideally, an education is both theoretically based and applied practically to real world situations.
Yeah, ideally.
So were you not particularly satisfied with your undergraduate education?
Not at all. I think it was trash.
Okay.
But I mean, because, you know, don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed it. Especially because I also, within, you know, the whole, within like my degree and the different like economic theories, I kind of like picked the one or bonded with the one that was like most people would call it extreme, more like a small government, very low taxes, no regulations, and at that point in Argentina, talking about that was like, whoa. Even like I would get into arguments, well, not arguments, but I started like exchanging ideas with like my professors, and they were like, what have you been reading, you know, besides, you know, like the curriculum?
You're not allowed to read that?
Yeah. So I was like,
what had you been reading?
Well, Hayek, Mises, they were like from the Austrian School of Economics. Also the Chicago School of Economics too. And those like were kind of like forbidden.
Right. And
not forbidden, but you know,
yeah.
If you started talking about like Mises or Hayek and, you know, theory and low interests or like money supply manipulation, they were like,
yeah, no bueno.
No, not at all. So,
sorry, I interrupted you. You were saying something else, but what were those texts? Were those thinkers, whatever they're called, economists, intellectuals? Were they being introduced at all in the curriculum, or was this like investigation that you were doing kind of on your own? Like you'd go down rabbit holes type of thing?
Yeah, rabbit holes are my like permanent state of mind. I did some research on my own, but I was like kind of like introduced to those concepts my third year in college with history of economic thought. I mean, you cannot ignore that. You cannot ignore Adam Smith. You cannot ignore Hayek. You cannot, because like those are like actually, you know, they came up with some economic theory that's actually valuable and it's important, and it doesn't fit the mainstream way of thinking economics. So I was kind of like introduced, but not really. Whenever, I read all those like people on my own during my free time. Mm-hmm. And I've always been like a very curious person, very curious, and that can be a blessing and a curse at the same time.
Yep.
Because I don't know. I end up I found myself like sometimes like 3 a.m. just like reading the book that Adam Smith wrote that no one, like very few people read.
It's like a romance novel?
No. The theory of moral sentiments, because like people when they talk about Adam Smith, or when they think of Adam Smith, they think about what's the name of the book? The Wealth of Nations, right? It's okay. But have you ever read the theory of moral sentiments?
No, I have not.
That's the book you gotta read if you want to know more about Adam Smith. So I found myself, I was like 20, I was in my 20s, early 20s, and I found myself, reading those books that no one in the university, were, teaching me.
Were any of the people that you were going to school with reading these books?
No, not at all. They were like into other stuff. They were like, like talking about what they were going to do during the weekends and stuff.
Oh.
They were not into that at all. They were just like focused on, doing the homework and studying for the exams, and that was like pretty much it.
Right. Were you making good grades?
Yeah. Yeah. They were not like, oh wow, it's like 4, like close to 4. But where I was scale is different, but they were like pretty decent, given the fact that I was doing other stuff at that same time.
What kind of stuff?
Well, I was playing semi-pro. I was playing field hockey semi-pro.
Whoa!
Yeah, and I was studying German. I was, the other career that I started, violoncello.
Whoa!
And then, I was studying
How much Adderall were you taking?
No, I was not taking Adderall at all. Yeah. No.
It's that mate. It's that Argentine mate.
Mate cocido.
Sí, mate cocido de Argentina.
Yeah.
What happened to the cello? You said you studied that for the first 2 years?
Yeah, I did that for 2 years.
And this is like in college, you're taking cello classes, or?
Yeah, so in Argentina, the way this whole like system works, it's not that the university is like, it's not the University of Rosario, and it's like a gigantic campus, and then you have the different schools within the campus. Mm-hmm. You have the different like schools. They're like spread out around the city.
Okay.
So and you have to. It's not that I can take courses on this and that. No, when I signed up for my degree in economics, they're like, okay, so you're gonna be with us for 5 years. This is a curriculum.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
What the fuck?
Yeah, college degree.
And that's just undergrad?
Just undergrad.
Whoa.
For 5 years, and they give you like a piece of paper, and they're like, here are all the courses that you're gonna take. Mm-hmm. All are mandatory except for one. So, yeah, that's why it works.
What does that mean? All mandatory?
All mandatory.
So like, there's one class that you can take that can be whatever.
No, it's not. They give you some options. So
but
all the classes.
What are those options?
Yeah, you don't have electives. You just like have one, and they give you like some options. But I would say the whole thing is like very like rigid. You cannot take it's, and that's why I'm like, I was also amazed by college education here, because like I've heard you talking about how you had taken this course and that course during college, and probably they were not like related to each other at all.
No.
And I'm like, how, and no, so I signed up. And they gave me like a piece of paper, and they're like, okay, these are the courses you're gonna take. And by the way, during your 5th year, if you wanna choose like a course from these, like this list, then go ahead and do it. And that's basically my elective. So it was like a very economic focused career.
Right.
And then, but I wanted to pursue, a different degree. I also wanted to be like a, what would you call it, like bachelor's of arts in violoncello.
Exactly.
I also wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But I had to, enroll like in a different school. And then in that school, they were going to give me another piece of paper, and they were going to be, oh, you want to study violoncello. The first like 2 years, you're gonna be doing like music theory, and then violoncello 1, violoncello 2, and then the rest of the 3 years, because I remember it's like a 5-year degree, you're gonna be doing all these like other courses.
Yeah.
And that was basically it. So I did both careers for 2 years, and then it was way too much. And I'm like, okay, you know what? Like in Argentina, I could never think of, actually pursuing a career as a cellist. Very difficult. And because like most people, cellists and good ones, as musicians in general, they start playing at a very young age. Probably like when they're like 5-6 years old, and they focus their whole life and their whole career is just like, play this instrument. You study music theory and other stuff, but you're almost like 50%, 60% of the time you're just dedicated to your instrument, the instrument you picked. And I started playing the cello when I was 17, and at the time I enrolled in the School of Music, I was 20, maybe 21.
You start playing the cello when you're 17, like, I would pick this thing up.
So when I was 12, I taught myself how to play the guitar. So my dad, he taught me the first chords, like probably 3-4 chords, and then he kind of like explained to me how the whole like what is it called, like harmony theory.
You asking me?
Well, yeah.
I don't fucking know.
Well, like it's like how like let's call it harmony works, and then it's like music is like basically math. So I kind of like got the sense of, how to build the different chords, and then I taught myself how to play the guitar. I'm not a great, guitar player, but I get by.
Right.
I mean,
you get by on the street.
No, I mean, is that how you say? I mean, it's like when you learn like a new language and you can, say like, the very like basic stuff.
Right. Okay, I got you. Good.
Yeah. That's what I tried to say.
Yeah. You can you're conversational on guitar.
Exactly.
You're not quite fluent, or maybe you're fluent. You think you're
fluent?
No,
I'm not fluent. Not fluent. I was kind of like fluent at one point, but then I lost it because
Right. Cello? Are you fluent in cello?
Kind of. I mean, I've played some like classical pieces, like Vivaldi. There's a Brazilian guy, Morellenbaum.
Didn't you play like professionally at one point? Weren't you getting paid to play an instrument?
Oh yeah, that was a hobby that I had. So I did the first 2 years, and then I quit. I'm like, I cannot do this. But I actually needed, to keep on playing because I loved it. I was like actually getting really good at it because like, I started playing the guitar when I was like 12, 13. And it's something that comes natural. When you learn it at a very young age, it's something that comes like very natural. So I was like getting good at it, not as good as someone who, had started at the age of 7 or 6. But I was like actually like, I was a decent cello player. So I quit the cello career at the university, and at that time I was dating a guy who he played the viola, and he was like doing that like full time, like professionally. He was also studying he was getting his degree in viola at the university, and I was like talking to him. I'm like, dude, I really want to keep on. I want to have a reason to study cello at least like 3 times a week or 4 times a week. And it's like, okay, he had like a side gig, and he had this like small string band, just like strings, like bass, I think, contrabass, bass, viola, and 2 violins, and they needed a cello player. So, I mean, they had one, but I was,
prettier?
His girlfriend. Yeah, prettier. So they're like, okay, we're gonna let this girl do it. So I started doing that, and I started playing at weddings, which was like super fun. But I did like probably 4 or 5 of those. And then he had like a tango band.
Ooh.
Also, like, yeah. And I did that 2 or 3 times. It was like very difficult to play tango.
Where do you play a tango? Where's the tango band play?
Well, in Argentina,
like
tango. No, in Argentina, like tango is like a very like big thing in some like areas. I mean, we are basically known for, I would say, 4 things. Argentinians: wine, Malbec especially, beef.
The cows got them good cows.
The best cows.
Oh.
Then Maradona and tango. And now
what about Messi?
Now that Maradona's gone, now it's Messi. So tango is a big thing in Argentina, and for some reason, like Europeans, they go crazy. They go crazy about tango. Anyway, so it's a big thing. It's a very big part of Argentinian culture. It's like our like
twerking.
No, it's not twerking.
No, it's like your twerking.
Oh, my twerking.
Like the equivalent of twerking for United States.
Oh yeah, that's a perfect analogy. So it's a very big part of Argentinian culture. So, and there are like these like places, like very like underground bars.
Underground tango clubs.
Yeah. Underground, yeah, that's what they are. Because like they're like creepy as fuck. But
and illegal cello player or outlaw cello players.
No, everything I've done, everything I did was legal, 100%.
Oh,
just want to make that clear.
Legal cello player.
Legal cello player. So so you played in those places, and the good thing is that while you
what
played,
is an underground tango bar? Why is it underground? Are they not like paying their liquor license or something? Why is it underground?
No, I said underground because like it's like this like hipster, creepy-ish place.
Okay.
That it's always like underground.
But it's not actually illegal.
It's not illegal.
Oh, but the bar's actually like in a basement or something?
Kind of. Some of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And people are dancing tango?
Yeah, people dance tango. So what they do is like they have classes. They have a tango teacher for like an hour, and then the following hour they're allowed to,
right.
I mean, they dance, and they need music. So it's like better if they have live music.
Right.
So that's where we started playing. Okay. But then I couldn't do it anymore because I had to study like way too much because like you have to read music, right?
Right.
And you have the whole like music sheet like in front of you, and you have to it was really hard. So
you're studying economics, you're studying cello, you're playing cello to make money professionally.
Yeah, it wasn't like, okay, here's the thing. It wasn't that I needed, the money.
Right.
I was just like doing it for fun.
Right.
And also to go against, my parents. Because like they didn't want me to, because I come from a kind of like upper class family-ish. So they, especially my mom, she saw it as, how are you gonna play? Why are you playing at this like shithole bar?
Yeah.
You don't need to make money.
Right.
Because like I was at that time like still living with my parents, or even when it was like me like playing at a wedding. What are you doing? Like, because like it's like this like kind of like I think she thought about it as a low status job. Right. You're like the musician who's like offering services to the people who like at the wedding.
Right.
But I just like did it for fun. I didn't care about that. But I was like also a small part of me. I think I did it because I was like rebelling, like quote unquote, rebelling against my parents. I know, I was so crazy.
Damn.
I know.
That's wild. Okay, yeah. So you're doing that. You're studying the economics. You're studying the cello. You're playing the cello. to make money here and there. You're studying German. Mm-hmm. Just so you're not. That's not even in school. That's just like.
Yeah, that's private lessons.
It's like a hobby.
Yeah, when I was 14, 15 years old, and one day.
Obviously, you spoke English at this point.
Yeah.
Already?
So I went to a bilingual high school. Yeah, in elementary school.
When did you start studying?
Secondary school, let's call it.
When did you start studying English?
When I was 7.
Okay, so basically kindergarten.
Yeah.
Elementary school.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so you've been studying English your whole life.
Yeah. And then in
so then you're like, I need one another.
Middle school, my secondary school was bilingual, so basically we had all my courses were in Spanish in the mornings, and then from let's say like 12:30 till 4 p.m. every day we had like English lessons.
Oh damn! So you were fluent in English by high school, probably.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's like hard to say because I actually never had the necessity to, use it.
Right.
But yeah, I would say, pretty much fluent. I mean, pretty much fluent. I took the, that if you're an immigrant and you want to study in a U.S., university, you have to take some English tests. TOEFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I took that test in my last year in high school, so...
And you did well on it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, of course.
Of course.
Yeah, I did well. I hate it.
You hated the test?
I hated it, yeah. I took it like 3 times then.
And were you studying did you study any other languages in high school? Did your high school offer other languages?
No, just like English.
Just English?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you got to college and you wanted...
and also, and it's also the same, I don't know, well, you correct me if I'm wrong, but can you pick courses while you're in high school here in the States?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, I couldn't. Okay. That's the other thing. It's not that my...
I mean, you have... It's our high schools here, and it depends on, like, the quality of high school you go to. I went to a nice suburban high school that had it was a giant school, and it had a lot of offerings, programs. And so it's like if I'm remembering correctly, it's pretty much like college, except you're not pursuing a specific area of study. You're pursuing a high school diploma. Mm-hmm. In order to get that high school diploma, there are certain requirements you have to take. Obviously, you need to take up to I think it's algebra 2. You need to take certain histories. You need to take a certain number of Englishes, and you do. I think I'm almost certain there's a requirement you have to take a certain number of foreign languages. Mm-hmm. But once you get all those requirements, and especially some kids. I started accumulating high school credit in middle school because I was taking advanced courses in middle school, and so by the time I got to high school, college, your junior and senior year, your last couple of years, you have a lot of flexibility to take whatever you want, or you can be a lazy fuck like me, and by the time your senior year comes around, you're basically just can just go to school for half the day and then leave. Yeah, and that's kind of what I did. It's I chose not to take extra courses like you. Yeah. And take music lessons and extra languages. I just chose to not go to school for the whole day because I had already done all the stuff I needed to graduate, and I wasn't a superstar like you.
So in my secondary school or high school, whatever you want to call it, I mean we didn't have that option. Right. We just again a fixed curriculum.
Nor did you have that option in college. It sounds like.
Yeah. No.
If in your college 5 years of economic study, almost all of those classes are economics classes.
Yeah.
And so you're not taking any foreign languages, philosophy,
not
science.
At all. No.
It's like the university here, and we've talked about this before, university here, obviously you're pursuing the heart of your studies is your curriculum, but I'd probably say half of the classes I took had nothing to do with my major whatsoever. Wow. I took all kinds I studied international affairs. I took all kinds of random shit, philosophy, religion. I took hard sciences, biology, chemistry. Mm-hmm. I took random shit study of mass media, journalism classes. Yeah. Spanish, I had a minor in Spanish. I've taken all kinds of. Yeah, it's just more flexible.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, had I gone to college here in the U.S., I would have gone crazy because I would have liked to, take every single course.
Right.
Available.
Well, we'll flash back and then we'll flash forward. You did end up going to college here in the U.S.
Well, yeah.
Not undergrad. Yeah. But you recently just what?
Graduated. I got my master's degree in data science at GW.
At George Washington.
Yeah, George Washington University
in DC. Mm-hmm. But that's not like that's master's and you're doing that while working full time.
Yeah.
So it's not the same experience or anything.
Nope.
Okay, so we were talking about you studying German. So you just want to study German?
Yeah, I do.
You're just bored? You needed some more shit?
Yeah.
Which makes sense, like for a nice, studious individual like you, probably gets boring just studying economics all the time. You want a little more spice.
Yeah, and again, I've always been like super curious and wanting to know everything. And so one day I remember I said to my mom, "Hey, Mom, I want to study German." And
you were like in your 20s?
No, I was like 14 years old.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was like 14, 15 years old. And I was like, "Hey, Mom, I want to study German." And she's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I want to study German. Because, I also, at that time, I think I started, like, discovering my whole, like, German background.
Right.
And, it was, like, more prominent than the Italian one.
Started discovering your last name is Sutter Schneider.
Yeah. And also, had my, like, background been, or had they made my family more focused on my Italian side of the family, I would have ended up, probably studying Italian.
Right.
But I thought about it, but Italian and Spanish, they're like so similar. Then they're easy, and then I never pick the like the shortcut, or not shortcut, but the easy thing to do.
Right.
And I'm like, oh fuck, I'm gonna study German, and it's like totally different. The grammar is kind of like similar, but not really. It's similar to English, but it's not even like my native language. So I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, I'm gonna do German. I'm gonna study German.
That sounds fun.
Super fun. I was so into it. So into it.
So you started studying German in high school, in early high school.
Yeah.
And you're just taking private classes.
Yeah.
Your mom's like paying some teacher to teach you German.
Exactly.
Frau, whatever her name is.
Frau Wagner.
Frau Wagner.
Yeah, Frau Wagner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They were like this like German family. Her grandmother, she had immigrated from Germany, ended up in Rosario, Argentina, and then they were like, what the fuck are we gonna do here? And like, well, let's, open
a German.
Teach German.
Oh, okay.
And then, their whole family, so the grandma, her daughter, and her granddaughter, they all spoke German, so they had this like little like institute, like German institute in the city, and then that's what they did. They taught German.
Is that the same people you were studying with in college?
No.
You'd gone to a different school? You said you're studying German in college.
During college, but not in college.
That's what I meant.
But this was like a private institution.
We're having an English moment here, where maybe you have the correct English and I have the incorrect English. Sometimes it happens between us because you're like learned in English and I just speak English. I don't know like any of the rules or anything. But I said you studied German in college. You're saying you studied German during college. You didn't study it officially in college, but while you were in college, while you were college students, you were studying German.
Yeah.
Were you still studying with this Frau Wagner?
No. Then I was with them in this like private like German institute from for like 3-4 years, and then there was like a 2-year gap in between where I was like super focused on field hockey. And then I stopped, German classes, and then I started back with like a different guy, but it was like another like German like private institution. It was actually a guy that he gave us. He taught like German in his basement, which was like super nice. Cause like, and I also was going there with like some people I knew. So it was like super fun. I did that.
Go ahead. Sorry. Finish.
No, and I mean I did that for like 5 more years until I moved here.
Oh, so you're studying German up until you went to the United States?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How far did you get in German?
I would say like pretty much fluent. Now I've lost a big, part of it. I would say like intermediate.
Conversational.
Conversational.
So you could go to Germany and you could go to a bar and you could, have a conversation with the bartender, random people at the bar.
Yeah.
You go on a date with a German guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I could do that. I mean, I'm gonna make, like grammar mistakes and everything, and I'm not gonna know the specific word for something, but yeah, I mean, I can 100% make myself understand.
So your German is definitely better than your English because, I mean, me and the audience can understand kind of like maybe 25% of what you're saying right now.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that.
Una broma.
I know.
No,
go ahead.
No, your English got a lot better. I mean, when I first met you in 2014.
Oh my god.
No, your English was good. We talked mainly in Spanish because we met in Guatemala, and everyone we were with studied Spanish, obviously. But your English is always. When I first met you, I thought your English was fluent, but it's gotten better for sure.
Yeah, because
especially like slang and shit. You'll say slang sometimes. I think it's hilarious because when I first met you, you didn't know slang.
Yeah.
And your English was much more British than it was American.
Oh my
when
God,
I first met you, like I said, your English was good. I would say it was fluent, and it was fluent. But it was like you had like a little bit of a British accent, and you'd say British words like tomato and lorry, and
aluminium,
laboratory, and shit like that. But now it's funny to think back on that now 6 years later because now your English is
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it's like I always try to, I ended up in the US, and I'm 100% like trying to assimilate as much as I can to like the American culture, and that means that I'm gonna be using try to use the same slang or like words that you guys use. And
but your high school that you studied at,
it was Irish.
It was Irish.
Yeah, Irish.
You can tell. I mean, I remember asking you that when I first met you. Like, did you study like a British school or something? Because you really did. You had like an accent. You mentioned a minute ago the field hockey. You were saying you stopped studying German for a couple years because you're focusing so much on field hockey. Mm-hmm. Tell us about field hockey. That I remember also meeting you told me you played field hockey. I was like, what the fuck is? I knew what field hockey was. I was like, what? It's like a popular sport to play. What a random fucking sport!
It's like very popular in Argentina, and that's what I don't get. Because
I expect you to play soccer.
Exactly. No. Like women started playing soccer, I think, past like when I left Argentina in 2015. At that time, you had like small soccer, like women's soccer leagues, or like it was like a mixed league too. But I've never played soccer in my life. That's so crazy. And as an Argentine, I'm embarrassed about what I'm gonna say, but I don't actually feel that I don't like soccer that much.
Right.
Yeah, I know. So in Argentina, where you have at least. Yeah, pretty much. If you're, guys are gonna play soccer. Like men are gonna play soccer regardless. Mm-hmm. But then if you're a guy, if you have to pick another sport, it's gonna be rugby. Mm-hmm. And then if you're a girl, if you wanna play a sport, they're gonna go with field hockey. I think.
So that's the number one sport for women, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, I don't know because like women actually started playing like a lot of like soccer a lot, but I don't think it has gotten to a point where they're matching. It matches like the amount of women that play field hockey.
When did you start playing field hockey?
I was 8, 9.
8. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then you played consistently up until you left for the United States. So for 17 years, you were playing field hockey like regularly?
Yeah.
You were pretty much always on a team?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What? You have this weird look in your face.
Well, because I miss it. I miss it. Because it's also because like the last 5 years that I played, I was like playing with the same team. Because I think I started when I was 8, probably 9, and then you start playing just like for fun. Mm-hmm. It's a hobby. You're not competing, and then but it gets to and then your teammates, they change like constantly. But then you get to a point when you turn 17, 18, when you're like most people start college and then they're like, oh, okay, I'm gonna quit field hockey,
and only the badass bitches are still playing.
Yeah, and then the girls that the girls that are left are the ones who I really want to do it, even if I'm gonna do this as a hobby, I'm gonna take it like very seriously.
Right.
So that's when I started competing.
That's so cool. I wish it was like that in the U.S. I guess it is kind of like that in the U.S., but you have to be chosen. It's not up to you,
Yeah.
right? If you want to keep playing after high school, you play in university. And so
Yeah.
you must be chosen to play in university, right? I mean, I guess, you could try and walk on and stuff if you're that into it.
Yeah. So I mean, you're also chosen. So like, you have like different divisions, right? Depending on
Okay.
your age.
Right.
And within that division, you have like subdivisions that go from the best
Professional league. Is there a professional women's hockey league that like chicks are actually making money?
No,
Oh.
it's amateur.
What's that?
Amateur, like that's how we
Amateur.
call it. Yeah, amateur. Like that means that in Argentinian, that means that you're not gonna make what's it called? Well, I don't know the English word, but you're not gonna make money off of it.
That's amateur. That's what it means.
Amateur. Oh, okay,
Amateur.
okay.
Yeah.
Then
Amateur and then professional.
yeah.
And then semi-professional is like,
I mean, I was
maybe if like, there's some sponsors for the team and like everything's paid for, and then maybe every now and then you get a check if there's some money left over or something. That's semi-professional.
Yeah, so I mean, I never got paid, but we did have sponsors.
Like they're paying for your jerseys and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like semi-professional. Like
But I mean, I've
but there's
never
not
gotten
a
paid.
professional level of women's field hockey.
No.
The men play field hockey?
Yeah, they play too.
Is there professional? Is there men's professional?
No,
field
no,
hockey?
no.
Is there
Field hockey's
professional
not
field
professional.
hockey anywhere?
I don't. Other countries, maybe not in Argentina.
Like Ireland or something?
Well, it's very big. It's very big in Holland,
Oh, really?
Germany, Australia. They're so good.
There's got to be a professional league somewhere.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Not that I know of. But
Didn't you tell me you played with some chick that's considered like
Oh,
the
the
best
best
hockey player
play
in the world?
Yeah,
Does
Luciana
she-
Aymar.
What's her name?
Luciana Aymar. Lucha.
And does she play it in another country?
No. She always played for like the national Argentinian team.
Okay, so then Argentina like goes and plays in the Olympics.
Yeah, it's like a World Cup.
They have
Okay. We have a World Cup, and we
there's
have like small like tournaments and championships.
Right.
There's one that's called like I don't know the 4 cups, something like that. I don't know. I'm probably making it up because and there's like only 4 teams that play in that tournament.
And does Argentina do well on the international stage?
Yeah, we're champions of the world. Like I don't know how many times. Like way too many times.
Oh, okay. Damn.
We're really good.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So anyway, within like there's a division according to your age. Let's say like from 18 to 23. I don't know, making it up. And then within that like age range, you have subdivisions that go from, at least in my club, right? That go, and it's pretty much the same like everywhere, but it is like in my club. And then you have like subdivisions that go from the worst players to the worst team, and you have the best team. So you have A being the best players, and till the F. The F is like no, you're not really good. You're just like playing just for fun.
Right.
So I had an interesting story because I started at like C level, and then I played in the A team for like 3 years, and that was like my like biggest like field hockey moment.
Were you getting on the field? Were you playing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were you a starter? What's called a starter?
No, I was like in defense. I was at the back.
No. Okay.
What?
So starter is someone who starts the game on the field. I don't know.
Oh
if
yeah.
substitute- Okay,
Yeah,
you weren't on the
sorry.
bench.
Yeah, no.
Because you have people on the bench too,
Sometimes
right?
I was on the bench because well, sometimes it depends. It depends on the team that we were playing. When we were playing, because I don't want to brag about it, but I was like actually good. So if we were playing, a team that we knew we were gonna win against, so I probably started at the bench. But I was
If you were
usually
playing-
a starter.
Okay.
Usually, I don't.
Is that
say
a new
always.
word for you, starter?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. And so, but then you haven't played since you left Argentina.
Yeah. No. I brought my.
Didn't you look into it at one point, fighting a team in DC?
Yeah.
The Dragons.
The Dragons. The DC Dragons. Yeah. But, they were like very into it, and they were traveling. I think they. So I was like looking at. They had a Facebook page, and I was like looking at some pictures and everything, and they are like traveling. They were like traveling almost like every weekend, and I'm like,
I bet.
I cannot do it anymore.
I'm moving to a new country.
Yeah,
at 25.
it's like way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Probably costs money. Probably a lot of money too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah.
I was like almost poor.
Almost poor. You were kind of
when
poor.
I started. Huh?
You were. Yeah, almost poor is a good way to put it. Actually.
Almost poor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've already done it. Like so I played in the A division for 3 years, and then I was like getting like I had to study for my final exams and everything, and I still wanted to do German. So I had a conversation with myself. I was like, gee, you played really good and you took it like very seriously. Because like at that point, when those like 3 years, my priority was field hockey.
Over everything?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, I'm a good like team player, and I'm gonna give everything for my team. If I'm not doing my best, if I'm not the best on the field, then I'm failing. And if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna fucking do it. So field hockey like became one of my priorities during those 3 years. And I was at that point I was like doing well, at school.
Mm-hmm. In school, if you fail, you just let yourself down. But in field hockey, if you fail, you're letting other people down.
Yeah.
Is that how you saw it?
Yeah.
So field hockey takes precedent.
Yeah. And also because I don't know, there was like all this like energy, and all my teammates that I've known for, probably like 5-6 years. It was like almost like my family. Mm-hmm. That's how I saw it. And it's different when it's different when you're like just like playing for fun. You're just like playing because like we are all on the same page. We want to win the fucking tournament, and I'm gonna give everything I got to win the fucking cup. Mm-hmm. And that's what we did. 2 years in a row.
Whoa! Two consecutive back-to-back cup winners?
Yeah.
What's the cup?
Just like a small cup. I mean...
No, pero tiene un name? Does it have a name?
No, it's like the tournament...
Spanish there for a second. Not bad.
No,
pero hay un nombre, tipo...
The tournament is el Torneo del Litoral. So you play against... Torneo del Litoral. The Litoral is like a region of Argentina. It includes like Buenos Aires. And we were playing against those bitches in Buenos Aires.
Oh yeah, fuck those bitches.
Yeah, fuck them. They were so good. And dude, I still remember that day that we won against them. There's a club, San Isidro club, and they're like very snobby, and and we won against them, and we were crying. Because like at that point we knew that we were gonna win the tournament.
Right.
That was a very special day. And then so we won that tournament 2 years in a row, and then the third year that was there, I think we came second. That was terrible. I cried for like...
You look like you're about to cry
days.
Right now.
Yeah. I think it was like I still haven't recovered.
Cried for days?
Yeah.
Cried for days?
Yeah. Because I hate losing. And I don't know, it was like this, and when we and at that point I was like, okay, gee, like you gotta do something else.
Too much
stress.
And by that point, you're probably looking to come to the U.S. By that point? Is this around age 24, 25?
Yeah, ish.
Okay.
No, I was 22.
22, okay.
I was 22. That's why I had to, focus on, I knew that field hockey was going to be my hobby. Uh-huh. And at that point, I took it, like, very seriously. And then I'm like, okay, like, just, girl, calm down and just focus on economics now.
Right.
And that's also when I quit, the cello. Not like the instrument, just like the career. That's
all in on economics.
Yeah.
Did you win the economics cup?
No.
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 So what did you think you wanted to do when you graduated college? At what point, at what age, was it around this time when you're quitting field hockey that you started thinking about, okay, what am I going to do after school? Talk to us about that.
I think I never knew what I was going to do. I never had like a goal, meaning like I wanna get this job. I want to work at, this organization. I was just like playing it by ear, to be honest.
And what about when you were a little kid? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be an ambassador to Argentina in the UK.
No.
Very specific.
Wait, isn't it called an ambassador to the UK? No.
I think it's... Well,
ambassador to Argentina
well,
in the UK?
let's put it this way. An Argentinian ambassador in the UK.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You wanted to be... How old were you when you started thinking about that?
Well, because I also...
you never wanted to be like a fucking, astronaut or, cowgirl or something?
No. No.
Singer? Princess?
No.
Okay. So when did you start thinking about becoming an ambassador?
Because I was participating in high school. I was participating in the Model UN.
Oh, yeah.
And I was... Like, our team was like... We were winning. Like...
You won the Model UN Cup?
Well, no, like the Rosario, like Model UN. And then we traveled to Buenos Aires to the national one.
Ooh.
We were third there. We were third place.
This is your high school?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know, I was like super into it. But then, it's like I always change what I want to do. That's basically me. And so, at that point, I wanted to be, an ambassador, Argentinian ambassador in a country. And then I got into, I started reading Hayek and Mises, and I'm like, gee, that's going to be like super boring. And then I'm like, okay, I can probably become a researcher.
That sounds exciting!
Because I like numbers, and I don't know. And also I never thought about it, like becoming a researcher. When I graduated college, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do now? I got, my degree, and I actually got my first job before I graduated. It was like, again, like researcher, but for a small financial company. And I prepared like the macroeconomic like analyses.
Right.
We had like different clients, and our clients were small businesses. So I was in charge basically of preparing like the macroeconomic report, and also the microeconomic report for the for like each organization, for each like business. So if it was like there was one business that they were selling, or they were like, I don't remember. Let's say they were selling shoes. So I had to look into the shoe market in Argentina and get, they got like, the different prices, how the market was doing. And that's what I did specifically for that organization. But then I prepared the macroeconomic like reports about, the whole like Argentinian, economic situation and some like international like markets data. That's what I did. That was my first job. It was like always the same thing. So, I had to update the numbers.
Yeah.
So it was like basically... but that's when I started, to like working with huge spreadsheets and Microsoft Excel. And I'm like, I love this.
That sounds like my fucking nightmare.
I love this. And
I love these spreadsheets.
I love spreadsheets. And then, I quit that. And then at the same time, I got a part-time job at a libertarian think tank in Rosario as a researcher.
At that point, is your thinking starting to become more political as far as libertarianism is concerned?
Yeah,
or no, it's just about the numbers?
No, it's like also, kind of like political.
Okay. And so when you got...
I wouldn't call it like political, ideological, if you...
There you go, yeah, ideological. Yeah. Got you.
And yeah, so...
so did you search out a job in the, like... that ideological space?
No, I don't actually remember how I got that job. I think that a professor of mine he was giving some lectures at this libertarian think tank in my city.
Okay.
And then we started talking. He was a microeconomics teacher, professor, and we started talking about because I had just found out about libertarianism and small government, low taxes, no tariffs, no regulations, and he's like, oh, you want to check this out. And that's how I started attending lectures at this libertarian think tank. And at one point, you start getting to know people there, the ones who are in charge of organizing the courses and everything. And it happened to be that they had a small research team, and they were looking for like an intern or like part-time person to help them update all the data and everything. And that's when they contacted me, and I started doing that. That was part-time, and then I was also kind of like part-time-ish at this private, financial organization, and I was like finishing my studies. Like I was about to graduate from college.
Oh, you were still in school at this point?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it was like the last year.
No field hockey at this point?
Oh yeah, I was playing, but I was just like playing for fun, which means like the F division.
Oh, okay.
And it was so much fun. We also won the tournament.
Were you fucking those girls up?
No, because like many of them they had also played in the A division. So it's like
are they like moms now and shit?
Yeah.
Okay, I got
so
you.
I was like playing with them.
That's fun. That's cool.
So much fun because like also
I want to move to Argentina.
We were good. But also, like, we were letting, in our, like, division, girls, like, weren't as good.
Right.
But we all had, it's not that you're not focused on, winning the tournament anymore. But, just, like, have fun. You still want to do good. Because, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. We still, like, want to win. And we left everything we had. Like, our last breath, we left on the field.
Fuck yeah.
But, I mean, if someone, like, I would feel bad if I was playing the entire game and this girl, that also wants to play, doesn't play. So, you're like, okay, have fun for, I don't know, the first half, like the first 35 minutes.
Right.
And then let the other people
play. That's cool. So
that's what we did. And we were still good.
Argentina sounds like a paradise.
No, it's not. Yeah, so at that point I was just like playing for fun. I skipped, I had to skip some practice days. Right. And it was totally fine. That was like our understanding. And also we had like kind of like this rule. We practiced Tuesdays, Thursdays, and we played Saturdays. So if you skipped both Tuesday and Thursday, then you're not a starter at the Saturday game.
Oh, look at you using the word starter.
See? I learn fast. So that was like kind of like the the agreement that we had like between all of us. So at that point I was just like, if I missed a Tuesday, then it's fine. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna practice on Thursday, and if not, I'm probably gonna play 10 minutes on Saturday, which is fine. Right. But it was kind of like hard to, make that switch. Yeah. Because I was playing like, the A division, then you drop to the F. It's not that I was like in the C division or D. No, it's like F. Right. So it was like a kind of like, because I was still, in
A mode.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
When you're in A mode, like there's like some stupid things that you sometimes say to your team, teammates. Yeah. Because you want to push them. Mm-hmm. You want them to give everything. Yeah. And leave everything on the field. So sometimes I'm not gonna say that you get into an argument because you actually kind of do that in the middle of the fucking game. But you sometimes say like, "Hey, run faster!"
Yeah. And meanwhile, this chick's got like 3 kids at home, and she's just trying to get out here and break a sweat.
Yeah. But you could actually tell that some of them were still like trying to make that switch too. Right. But you don't want to be me. And also because they have. I mean, some of them had told me, they were like screaming at me like, "Hey, G, like I don't know, like go run to the right side of the field, or like, you know, giving you instructions in this like very like euphoric like way. And not euphoric, like harsh.
Okay,
that's
aggressive.
What I meant. Huh?
Aggressive,
yeah, that's the word I was looking for. And so some people can take it, you know, bad.
Right.
But I don't know why I started talking about that.
We were talking about.
I'm very passionate about field hockey.
Apparently.
Yeah.
You should start a field hockey podcast. Right? Do you want to be the Our Clark-Youngblood podcast official field hockey correspondent?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I can keep you updated.
Yeah, you can keep us updated on like the international field hockey, the international women's field hockey scene.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Sure.
Well, we look forward to your first report.
Sure.
Okay, so back to your life. I think we got on field hockey. So I was saying.
Oh, also wait. So wait.
More
one last thing.
hockey.
Tennis, because I also play tennis.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I kicked your ass.
My ass?
Yeah, your ass.
I don't remember that.
Well.
What?
Yeah, it looks like you have very selective memory.
Oh, that day I had a sprained ankle.
Yeah, sure.
I had a sprained ankle.
That was actually me.
I had a sprained ankle.
I play with a sprained ankle.
And I think I had mono as well, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, sure.
So
that
doesn't count.
What I did, not during like when I was like in the A division, but the rest of the year, what I would do is just like go with some friends and we just like play tennis for like 1 hour before the game.
Just nice little warm up.
Yeah, probably a warm up. Yeah, that was good.
So wait, did you play tennis officially, organized tennis?
No, not officially, just for fun.
Just dicking around with the ladies?
Yeah.
With the homies?
Yeah, homies.
Did you ever have a coach?
Yeah, I mean, we had, so at this club that I was, you know, my family is like part of, you know, how you say, like members of like this club. And
whoa, what kind of club?
It's like jockey club.
Jockey club?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I know what kind of club it is. I'm trying to be. It's a country club. In the United States, we call it country club.
Yeah.
But it's mostly United States. I know about the club, so I'm just kind of explaining it. Guillermina is going to go pee real quick. Also, I'll explain the club situation. In the United States, we have country clubs that are like, I've never been a member of the country club. I didn't grow up in Guillermina's family. I did not have that experience. But in the United States, from my understanding, country clubs are mostly golf focused. I feel like golf is the center of country clubs, or maybe those are specifically golf clubs. Maybe I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Maybe I know nothing about country clubs, either domestically or internationally. But I'll continue rambling about them. It seems like American country clubs are about like golf and tennis and shit. And then when Guillermina has told me about the country club that her family belonged to in Rosario, Argentina, there was like all kinds of sports being offered. Obviously, you had her field hockey team. You had tennis, obviously, which I guess is an American thing. But it seems like Guillermina's walking back in the room. Like your country club offered like a variety of sports programs. Like then there are rugby teams for guys, rugby teams for girls, soccer teams for guys.
Yeah, not rugby team for girls, but you had field hockey, both like for women and men. Then rugby just for guys, soccer for guys. But then I think by the time I left Argentina, they started like a women's soccer league, but just like it's like a club tournament. Like it's not that you can play like semi-pro.
Right.
Not that girls can play semi-pro. Then swimming, tennis, golf, and what's the with the swords?
Fencing.
I did that for I took 3 fencing classes. And I'm like, fuck this shit. I want to run.
Right.
I don't want to do it. But it was fun.
Why is it called the Jockey Club? Do they have polo?
Okay. Oh, polo, yeah. They have polo too. And you have, what is it called? Like, horse jumping?
Equestrian shit?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right term. I don't know. Anyway, horse jumping shit?
Yeah, and those tournaments are like, that's how like the whole, you know, the country club was founded.
So this country club has got to be fucking huge.
It's fucking huge. It's one of the biggest in Latin America.
One of the biggest clubs in Latin America, country clubs in Latin America. So it has enough room for horse stables, horse tracks, horse jumping,
a golf course.
Polo is like you're riding the horse and you're hitting.
We have like 2 polo courts.
It's like horse soccer, kind or
yeah.
the jockey's on the back of the horse and they're hitting the ball with the mallet.
We have 2 courts of those.
Wow.
Like fields.
That field's probably huge, huh?
Yeah.
Because you have to have enough. How many players on each team?
10.
So it's like a soccer game but for horses. So it's much bigger than a soccer field.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you have field hockey, soccer, rugby. So this is a massive complex.
Yeah,
is it like the single biggest organization business in your town?
No idea.
In terms of square footage? Like what else would have a bigger footprint?
Say so, but I'm not sure. Because then you have, those like private, we call them countries, but meaning private neighborhoods.
Okay, but that's residential.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Right. But in terms of like a singular business, not where people live, just like a place where people go.
Oh, yeah.
Because even you said your university didn't have
a campus.
Like a campus. It was just all scattered around the city.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
And it was only for rich people, obviously. This isn't like a public thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And like at first, when they first founded it, only like the members, not even only the members could attend could go to the country club, and then they opened it to their wives because it was like so it was just like a men only country club,
right?
And then I think I don't know if I'm getting this right, but I think my grandma was kind of like involved in the whole letting women.
Whoa!
It's like the women revolution of the country club.
Whoa!
And they started allowing women, to go to the country club. But then you have the headquarters. The headquarters
is
of
like
the club.
Field hockey team, the women's field hockey field named after your grandma.
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay. You should have just said yes.
And yeah, so then women started going there, but it was only for the members, and like your relatives couldn't go. If you're a member, your relatives you can't go. You have to be a member.
What about now if like your field hockey team's playing and like one of your friend wants to come see you play? Can your friend get in the club even if they're not a member to come see you play?
Yeah, you have to pay.
You have to pay just to come in.
Yeah, just to visit, like a day pass.
Oh wow! And then can you use the facilities?
You can. You cannot take any sport classes.
Right.
But you can go to a swimming pool. You can go to
Can you touch the horses?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Then you can go to a restaurant.
Right.
There.
They have a gym, I bet.
We didn't have a gym.
What?
No, we didn't have a gym. So the gym is in the headquarters. Like the headquarters of the club is in the downtown Rosario.
Oh, it's separate.
Yeah, it's separate.
What goes on there?
You have a gym. You have a library that only like men are allowed to enter because they still want to keep the kind of like that tradition.
Only the men are allowed to go to the library today in 2020.
I think so. I think it's I don't know if it's a library or the gym. I don't remember.
Only men are still allowed to go to part of the club?
Yeah, there's one. Yeah, I think. I don't remember. I'm getting this like totally wrong, but there's like just like an exclusive like room in that in the headquarters where only men can.
A room? Okay, so it's changing.
Well, I don't know if it's a library or if it's a gym, but there was like one of those only men were allowed.
A sauna? A hot tub?
No.
What kind of creepy shit goes on in this room?
No, I don't know. No, it's like they just like wanted to give the tradition, so they're like, okay, no one's gonna come to the fucking library.
Is it called a bathroom?
No.
Men's bathroom?
No, because like they from what I understand, they just like wanted to keep the tradition, and they're like, who's gonna go to the jockey club library in downtown Rosario? Like people are just like, and also the library is like super small.
What is super small?
The library.
Oh, the library.
So
the men's only library.
The men's only library, which is like super
small. It has like a bunch of Playboys and like car magazines.
Probably, I don't know. I'm not allowed to,
You've never been there, you don't know what goes on in there.
So we can go there and just have dinner. It's like in the headquarters. They have it's actually beautiful, and it's a historic building in the city.
Tell us more about your family. Where did your family get all this country club money? What do your parents do? Or tell us about your grandparents first, I guess. From what you remember, when did your family arrive to Argentina?
So, okay. My Spanish side, my great-grandparents, they arrived in the 1920s.
And this is Spanish side is your mother's side?
My mom's side.
Okay.
Then.
So they came from Spain in the 1920s?
Yeah, from, I think it's northern Spain.
Whoa, they just got super British right then with northern Spain.
Really?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I have to say so. So they are from northern Spain.
Oh. You tried to make it American there.
Yeah, I don't know what I had to say. And then my Italian side of my family is like both. So I have Italian background from both my mom's side and my dad's side. It's more prominent on my mom's side. Then one of my great-grandparents came from northern Italy.
Ooh.
And then we have the German side of my family, which is basically my dad's side. And they arrived in Argentina in 1940s.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So I have Spanish, Italian, and German background.
Okay, and then what did your grandparents do in Argentina, or great-grandparents? What kind of work did they get involved in? What kind of life were they leading? And they all went to Rosario, or were your grandparents in other parts of Argentina, do you know?
So my German side of the family, they ended up in a city in the province of Santa Fe, which is where, Rosario is. And they founded a city called Esperanza.
Whoa, which means
is basically
hope
in English. They were escaping the Second World War, but not like actually escaping, hiding.
Yeah, so they weren't running away.
They were like, oh fuck, we're not gonna win the war. We're gonna just leave.
This is not gonna end well for us in Germany.
Yeah.
We should probably find a place to hide.
Yeah, and it's curious because while I was growing up, I was talking to my dad's dad, my grandpa, and he was always kind of like sketchy about our German background.
Oh.
Which sounded, when you're 14, 15 years old, you're like, oh, I don't care, because, But as I started, growing up and asking more questions, it was kind of like I don't want to say evident, but it was like kind of obvious that he didn't actually want to expand on our family history.
Your family's German history.
Yeah.
Okay.
Apparently, like long story short, there were like a bunch of Nazis escaping from escaping to Argentina, and they they ended up in this city where apparently Mengele spent like a day. That's like a
Who's
myth.
that? Who's Mengele?
Mengele, he was the one who was like doing all the experiments on the Jews.
Oh, that crazy fuck.
Yeah, and then he escaped they found him in southern Brazil.
But he had been in your family city for a minute. For a day?
Yeah, we
legend.
don't know. That's a legend.
Okay. And did they started this city from scratch?
They started the city from scratch.
Because in Argentina, aren't there like a bunch of cities or towns or whatever where it's like you feel like you're in Germany, like they're totally German towns with like German architecture and food, and they speak German and shit? Isn't that?
You have I would say like 3 cities that are like that. They're in Patagonia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, in Bariloche, like near a city that's called Bariloche. When you're driving there, especially during winter, you see all that, like the architecture. Everything's like fucking German. It's crazy.
Yeah,
everything's German. You actually, I've been to Germany like a bunch of times, and then I went to that city. I'm like, oh, this looks like Germany.
Right.
And there's this another one which is in Cordoba, which is another province in Argentina. It's like on the west. It's I think at the west of Argentina.
Gia is a very talented young lady, but directions and geography is not exactly her specialty.
No?
So when she says west, she may mean east, or she may mean north or south.
Well, so if Santa Fe is here, Cordoba is here.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Anyway.
Yeah, whatever.
It's in Cordoba.
Yeah, Cordoba, and there's like another city, which is called La Cumbrecita. I mean, you have like a bunch of different cities in Cordoba, which are like nearby that look German, but especially La Cumbrecita is like a very touristy city.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a German village.
That's cool.
Like, period. A German village. You can order like legit German food.
Uh-huh.
Some signs like in the restaurants, you have the menu in German.
Go ahead, sorry.
And you have the translation in Spanish.
Do you think there's any Argentinians that don't speak any Spanish and only speak German?
Nah.
No?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so it's not that isolated.
Yeah, no, not that isolated. I would guess that, during the first years...
They're still part of Argentinian society.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, you go there, you order food in Spanish. They
probably
know
get a bunch of Argentinian tourists.
Yeah. I mean, I bet that they speak... So those families, let's say that the family that runs the restaurant in La Cumbrecita...
Yeah.
They probably speak German.
At home, right?
Yeah, at home.
Right.
But they know Spanish. They speak Spanish.
And the other thing with Argentina, correct me if I'm wrong, though, there's so much European blood, primarily Italian, right? Isn't it? What is the stat you always say? Like 70% of Argentinians?
Nearly 75% of Argentinians' last names are Italian.
Okay. So Argentinians don't look like a traditional Latin American. They're not as dark. They don't have as much Indian influence or native
we killed
influence.
them all.
You killed them all.
Yeah.
And so Argentinians, generally speaking, are much more white.
It's an immigrant country.
Yeah.
And especially European country. I see Argentina as a poor European country.
Yeah. So yeah.
Very poor European country.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You don't even really consider it part of Latin America.
No.
You'd consider it much more part of Europe.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So if you do come from a family that speaks German at home, an Argentina family that is like a German-based family speaks German at home, or a family that's totally Argentinian speaks purely Spanish, like you wouldn't, just by looking at them racially, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
No.
Right.
No.
Cool. That's
because you had migration waves, very big ones in the 1800s. So that's the first generation of Europeans, and then they started, they got mixed with the second and third waves of immigrants that came between the 1800s and during the Second World War.
Right.
So you get that kind of mix, and on top of that, there were native Argentinians, but one of our presidents, he decided, they call it the desert campaign. It was Juan Manuel de Rosas, and basically what they did is that they wanted to expand the Argentine territory and towards the south, and they killed all the natives. Just killed them? Yeah.
They didn't move them somewhere else?
No.
Just kill them with guns?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So now you have a very big, space where you can, fit more immigrants, and you have the most fertile land in Argentina right in the middle, and now you're expanding towards the south, so you have even more space for the second and third wave of immigrants. So that's basically how the country was founded.
Are there any native communities left? Are there any native Argentinian communities left?
I would say very little. I mean, there are for sure, but I mean,
like they are in the United States. You don't fucking see Native Americans walking around.
You're not gonna see a native Argentina in the streets of Rosario.
Right.
Let's put it that way. They're they're in northwest, in the northwest, in a part of Argentina. Salta, Jujuy, those are the names of the provinces, and probably near the Andes mountains.
Yeah.
You can find some there, and probably in the south, but that's pretty much it.
Right. And is there you kept mentioning these waves of European immigration to Argentina. Does today in modern day Argentina, are there still waves of immigration? Does Argentina have a lot of immigrants coming in?
No.
Not anymore?
It's like the other way around. We're leaving Argentina.
Right.
So one of the things that I think one of the benefits of being, this like immigrant country is that many, the same way, I was talking before about, me looking forward to moving abroad, and I was like, looking for, getting my European citizenship. And that's actually what many Argentinians did. We had a very big crisis. We always have economic crisis, but a very big one in 2001. Mm-hmm. And what many Argentinians did, they started looking for ways of getting their European citizenship. Just some of Argentinians still had their grandparents that had come from Europe. They were European citizens, and they started, finding ways of, getting the European citizenship through, their family, through, in that case, their grandparents and so on. So many of them actually eventually got it, and they emigrated to Europe. So now you go to Barcelona in Spain, and it's an Argentinian city.
Right, there's Argentinians everywhere.
Everywhere. And you can say the same. Well, I would say most of them emigrated to Spain just because of the, Spanish. Mm-hmm. But you can find some, I think we're pretty much everywhere. You can find some in Italy too, because some of them, some Argentinians speak Italian. Because that was another thing. I remember my great grandfather talking to me in Italian. Mm-hmm. So. That tradition probably in some families, maintained throughout the years and generations. And, you're now in Argentina who knows how to speak Italian and have a European citizenship. You're going to go to fucking Italy. You're not probably going to go, or you have, two, options. You can either emigrate to Spain or to Italy. And, yeah.
And so generally speaking, your mom's side of your family, the more Spanish, Italian side, and your dad's side of your family, the German side, you mentioned that they moved to Esperanza. And then when did your mom, the Spanish European side, come along? Around the same, was it during World War II as well, or before?
Yeah.
No, you said 1920s.
It was during the Spanish Civil War.
Spanish Civil War, which was 20s, right?
Yeah. I think
what was that dude's
20s.
name? I just had this conversation the other day.
Franco,
that's his name.
General Franco.
Yeah.
So
around the same time, 1920s to 1940s is when your maternal and paternal great grandparents, correct, moved. So neither your paternal or your maternal great grandparents were born in Argentina. Mm-hmm. They're Europeans.
Yeah.
They came in the 1920s or 1940s. Mm-hmm. Then your grandparents, their children, were born in Argentina. Mm-hmm. So those are the first generation Argentinians are your grandparents. Mm-hmm. And then your grandparents had your parents and your parents had you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
So what kind of line of work in each of those sides did your families, what were they doing in Argentina professionally?
Well, so my great-grandparents, they just picked the first job that they found. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because Schneider means, oh my god, I don't know I know the word in Spanish. I've never thought about the word in English. The person who makes clothes, the
seamstress.
Sastre.
A seamstress.
I don't know the word. Maybe
someone who sews shit.
No. You make clothes.
Like a tailor.
A tailor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh my god. Okay,
That's what Schneider means?
Yeah, Schneider.
Okay.
Means tailor.
So all of your family is a tailor?
Yeah, it's also...
Your mom's a tailor?
No, I'm
kidding, I'm fucking with that stupid joke.
Two of my great grandparents, they were tailors. So, and that was their profession in Germany. So when you enter this new country, Argentina, you have an Argentine guy who speaks, ancient Argentinian, and it's like, oh, what do you do? And that was like his last name, right? That ended up being his last name because that was actually
they gave him that last name.
Yeah,
when they came to Argentina.
Yeah,
so that wasn't their actual last name in Germany.
No, it was.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Okay,
yeah.
So like, oh, you're Taylor Schneider. All right,
yeah,
coming in Schneider.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So what did they do when they came here? They became Taylors, your great grandparents?
Yeah, one of them became a tailor. Then, another so my great grandparents from my dad's family, we had a tailor. We had one who sold. He was a salesman because women didn't actually work.
Right.
Once a salesman, he sold sewing machines.
Sewing machines?
Sewing machines.
All in the sewing game. Clothes game.
I think Singer was the brand. And then from my mom's side, my great grandparents, one was a hairdresser.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay. And the other one, he worked at a train station in Argentina.
Okay.
He was like kind of like an engineer, and he was like working at a train station in Argentina.
Okay.
Then he lost his job because he lost his job during the Peronist government. Because during the Peronist government, like
Peronist is Perón.
Perón.
Right.
He was president of Argentina during the 40s, late 30s, early 40s. Many people see Perón as this awesome figure, great president, but actually he was an asshole. So at that point, my great grandfather, he was working at the train station, and he refused to support the Peronist government, so he lost his job.
Whoa, but he's got big balls.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a crazy time at that point in Argentina. Then
the Argentina's had a lot of crazy times.
Very crazy times.
Like throughout the 20th century, it's kind of just been a lot of upheaval, right?
Yeah, and
politically.
I think it's like pretty much the same story in like other Latin American countries. Because you have this like shift between democratic governments and then military dictatorships. Yeah. And we had like probably 3, 4 in 20 years in Argentina. Military dictatorships.
Right.
Which were really bad. But at the same time, people actually were begging for the militaries to take over. Because during the Peronist government, you had hyperinflation.
Right.
It's not
so basically you're alternating between like super leftist governments, super high taxation, government control of the economy. That doesn't work economically. People are not making money, can't find jobs, and then so they're like, fuck this, and then so you swing all the way to the right to these kind of fascist military dictatorships where everything's top down, and then Argentina is kind of just constantly swinging back and forth between those two, and then I guess kind of only in recent time are they settling into more moderate political establishments. But in your opinion, obviously, they're still, as far as like modern Western politics goes, they're still pretty extreme. They're not like total socialism, communism extreme, or fascist military dictator extremes, but you would consider them, even in modern day, very left, way too much government control.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So
your grandparents, this dude, as one example, Peronist government comes to power. Probably, I imagine, I don't know specifically, although I probably should. I study international affairs and I focus on Latin America specifically, but I would imagine Peronist government is like, as far as your grandpa working at the train station, is probably like nationalizing railroadways and shit.
But at the same time, it's like Perón is like a very interesting figure to me. Because like for many people, he was this, he was a part of, the Argentinian military. So that... if you see that, and he was like very nationalist. So you have the right component of Perón. But at the same time, what he was doing with, passing regulations to regulate whatever market you can think of, labor market, imports, exports. He increased the government spending tremendously. So then you also have like a left component of Perón. So this is why like Perón is like very interesting to me, especially when you study, you know, I took one course in college which was economic history of Argentina. And it's insane because like you have this guy Perón, and he has with this like right component, like very nationalist, very like Argentinian, like Argentina first, and then you also have this guy who's like regulating everything, everything. So
it's populist.
Yeah,
he's both a dictator and a populist.
Exactly.
Which you see in Latin America as well with Hugo Chavez and shit like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Noriega, you know, this is not uncommon.
But for that very same reason, because he was like both, you know, a lefty and, you know, a right wing, if you want to call it that way, he appealed to different people.
Right.
And people that are like still today, you would talk to someone and he's probably
considered a hero.
Center right or conservative, like quote unquote, let's call it like center right, and he's a Peronist. And at the same time, you're talking to someone who's like very left-leaning, and he loves Perón too.
Oh, interesting. So even in modern day politics, you could be on the right or left, and you can still identify with Perón or consider Perón a political idol. Or
and you still have people calling themselves Peronists in Argentina today, and they can be. They can fit both in a, you know, center right or center left, and that's to me is fascinating. Yeah. Fascinating. It started with, you know, Perón. You know, he started like gaining popularity during the Second World War, and he actually Argentina joined the Axis 2 months before the war ended. So we were, and that's why Perón had like some agreements with the Nazis, and he opened the doors to, you know, for Nazis, and Perón helped some Nazis hide during, you know, the Nuremberg trials and after the war.
That's part of the reason why they came. So many Nazis ended up in Germany.
Yeah, because like Argentina, we joined. Well, it's not that we joined the Axis. We that's a great way of saying it. We started supporting the Axis 2 months before the war and the Second World War ended.
Was like Hitler paying off Perón or something for that?
No,
what would be the reason for that?
No idea.
Seems like 2 months before the war, not all the writing would be on the wall. Not only that the Axis is going to lose, but also that like it would have been obvious at that point that they're fucking massacring millions of people, innocent people.
Perón had a good relationship with Mussolini. Right. It makes sense.
Italy, right?
It makes sense because we had a bunch of Italians in Argentina.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense. So I think that's why the connection with the Nazis.
And also, I mean, I'm just speculating here, but like the United States was trying to get their hands on a bunch of Nazis too after the war. For, I mean, not for criminal purposes, for use in our own technology and our own industry. The Nazis were a super advanced society, and so the U.S. was trying to get a lot of those motherfuckers to try to start NASA and all this stuff. So maybe that's what Perón was thinking as well. Hell, yeah, we'll take all these super like educated, highly capable people with money as well. We'll take them. Hell yeah. Yeah. That's probably what he's thinking as well.
Yeah. So that's basically what happened. Perón gave passports to, you know, Nazis. He gave Argentinian passports, so they had, you know, an Argentinian ID.
Right.
And
at that point,
Nazis.
You can disappear.
And bunch of Nazis that were like, you know, high in the hierarchy.
Right.
That's why apparently we don't know. Like Mengele ended up in my great grandparents' city. Right. Esperanza. Hope.
Yeah. And there's always those rumors that Hitler's in Argentina.
Yeah.
Obviously now today he'd be dead, but you'd always used to hear that conspiracy theory. They're like, no, Hitler never died. He was in Argentina.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which who knows? Maybe I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to your great grandparents. So they're tailors, getting fired. What did your grandparents do? So the first people born in Argentina, your grandparents, which is, I don't know, it's all super cool because it's like I consider you Argentinian, but really, if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, like you're not that Argentina. It's just your grandparents and your parents, and then you, and you didn't even stay there. And by the time your life is over, you're going to have spent much more time in the United States or outside of Argentina than you did in China.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Right? By the time you're 50, you're going to be 50-50 Argentina and in the U.S. by the time you turn 50 years old.
Yeah.
So the majority of your life is going to have been spent ultimately outside of Argentina.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not even that Argentina. It's just your grandparents and your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And then you, just 25 years.
I'm like a hybrid.
Yeah, it's cool. It's very fascinating. And I knew this obviously beforehand, but now just like spelling it out in one lineal conversation is becoming more and more apparent. But anyway, so what did your grandparents on each side do?
So my mom's mom ended up becoming a teacher at a high school.
Okay.
And then my grandpa, from my mom's side, he had to drop out from high school when he was 15 because his dad died, and then he and his brothers, they had to get a job and help support their families. So he dropped out of school, and then he started taking whatever job he could find, and then and that's why I always think of my grandpa as this multi-skilled person, because he took so many jobs in different industries or areas that he pretty much knows how to do everything. I don't know. There's
do you know what the English term for that is?
No.
Come on. No, you don't?
No, I don't know. No.
Jack of all trades.
I have no idea about it.
You never heard that?
No.
Jack of all trades. Never heard that?
No.
All right, well, we got two new words for him. We got jack of all trades and
starters.
And the starter. Nice.
So he knows how to. He knew. I mean, he passed away like last year. He knew how to do like pretty much everything. So he worked as in again the train. The train
industry,
station,
yes,
industry
yeah.
in the city. Then he worked as facility in the facilities department. At a hotel,
like fixing shit.
Yeah,
yeah.
And it was great because when there was always an issue in my house, I don't know, a leak or we need to paint a wall. Okay, let's call Grandpa. Yeah. And he did pretty much he did so many things, and then he was a carpenter. And so he knew how to build, tables and chairs and repair pretty much everything. So, and then from my dad's side, my grandpa, he studied international affairs. Then he was part of the military government in my he was Minister of Education for in the province of Santa Fe.
For the whole province of Santa Fe?
Yeah.
Damn.
But he was there for 2 years because then a new military government took over, and then they fired pretty much.
Oh, they didn't keep him around?
No. Military government.
Did he ever have to fear for his life? Was he ever about to?
Yeah, they were. My dad's family was threatened. Yeah, a bunch of times. They received threats from the radical left. They were they were called the ERP.
ERP?
ERP.
ERP?
ERP. Ejército Revolucionario del Pueblo. The
People's
Revolutionary Army.
People's Revolutionary Army,
yeah.
Sounds very Chinese, communist Chinese.
Yeah, now that I think about it, yes.
Yeah.
They received
So they received threats from the People's Revolutionary Army.
Yeah. So basically what they did, there's a anecdote that they always tell. So my dad's youngest brother, he picked up the phone, and someone on the other side of the phone said, "Okay, write this down," because they could tell there was a kid picking up the phone.
Right.
And they spelled out ERP, and they hang up. And then they called again the following day. I don't remember who picks up the phone, and they were like, "Okay, write this down. Bomb."
Bomba.
Yeah. And then they're like, "Fuck." Because like that's what they were doing. They just like put bombs and then everything like fucking exploded.
Right.
Yeah, it didn't matter if there were like civilians, like private citizens, or members of the military government. They just like wanted, like, they didn't care.
Terrorism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, exactly. They were terrorists. So they received like a bunch of threats, and then my grandpa, he had private security during his time in the government.
Yeah.
And that was like pretty much it. Once in 1983, I should know, in 1983, then they call elections. They elect a democratic president, and then everything magically comes back to normal, quote unquote.
And so then what did your grandpa do then?
And then he worked as a kind of like consultant, and he was still teaching. He was a professor at a bunch of at 2 universities in Argentina. He was teaching international affairs. Mm-hmm. And then he was also kind of like a consultant for some like organizations, and he gave lectures. He gave
That's cool.
That's
actually like that's kind of how it works. I guess maybe everywhere, but like in U.S. government, like you hold a high position in office or as an appointed position within the political machine, right? You do your time as a public official, and then you kind of either go into academia as a professor, or you go into the private sector as like a consultant, whatever the fuck that means. That's what he did. So go ahead.
Then my grandma, from my dad's side, she was a biology teacher at a high school.
Okay.
So that's. Yeah.
And so would it be safe to say that your dad's side, the guy who had a government position, and then versus your mom's side, where the guy was a jack of all trades, your dad's side had more money?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They had more money. My mom, she comes from like a very like humble household.
Yeah.
And whereas my dad, they had like a lot of money. And it's also like, in Argentina, if you had like a double last name, it's like that only thing gives you like some status.
Why?
I don't know.
And so your dad's double last name is Sutter Schneider. And we talked about the Schneider part being the tailor. Do you know what the Sutter is? They
had already those grandparents, they immigrated in the 18s. Like their families, they were Argentinians of German descent, and I think they arrived in Argentina in the 1850s. I think.
Okay. Maybe the double last name thing, is that like...
when they got married and they combined the
that's what I'm thinking.
names.
Like so that's what I'm thinking. Maybe I'm speculating, but I'm thinking this is what's coming to mind. You have a double last name because both families are prominent, rich families. So it's like, nobody's going to give up the name here. Sutter's a prominent family. Schneider's a prominent family. No one's going to take over. We're just going to keep both Sutter Schneider.
No,
that's not how it works.
No. Because like, just think about it. Like, they were like immigrant families. They didn't speak the language. They were like very poor. They took the first job that they found. They were not like my grandpa. Kind of like made the he inherited the combined last name.
Okay.
And then
But then when your parents get married, so your dad's Sutter Schneider always. Then your parents get married, your mom is Romero, right?
Romero, yeah, Spanish.
And then she just took your dad's last name because that's just the tradition everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, she added the Sutter Schneider. She added it.
Oh, so right, because in Latin America you take both.
Romero. No, it's not that you take both. You can choose. So my mom is, her first name is Karina, and her last name is, she kept the Romero, and you can do like the Sutter Schneider. So she kind of like added the Sutter Schneider. She didn't change her last name.
But then with you, they just gave the dad's last name.
Well, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so tell us about your parents then. What does your dad do when your parents meet?
My dad, he's an OB.
And it would be a gynecologist.
A gynecologist.
Okay.
And my mom, she was a stay-at-home mom for the most part of her life. And then she studied... she was like a kindergarten teacher.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Before she had me. She did that for like 4 or 5 years. She took like a year off when she had me. Then she did like another like 3 years of kindergarten teacher, and then she quit. Then she got pregnant with my brother, and she became a stay-at-home mom. And then when my brother and I we had graduated from college, she studied like what's it called, like tourism. So she became like a tourist agent. Travel agent, yeah. Travel agent. And she did that for 4 years, and then that was like pretty much it. And
the parents, are they both from Rosario?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how basically how life goes in Rosario. You're born there, you go to high school there, all your friends are from the city, from Rosario. Then you graduate from a college in Rosario, and then if you're getting your master's degree in Buenos Aires, in the big city, then it's like, whoa.
You're hot shit.
You're like crazy.
Yeah.
Not like crazy, but you're like, okay, you're
That's
like
cool.
willing to leave everyone just to pursue a master's degree in Buenos Aires. So that's kind of like, crazy. But
that's how it is. I mean, that's how it is in the United States, generally speaking, too. Most people, it's the same. That's not just an Argentina thing or Rosario. That's kind of just how it is in life, I feel like. I mean, yes, in the United States, the tradition is, in the United States, when you go to college, typically, if you can afford to do so, and the class stratification is different, right? Like, in the United States, generally speaking, you go off to college, or like, that's kind of the traditional model. Mm-hmm. You leave the house at 18 when you graduate college, when you graduate high school. Mm-hmm. That kind of signifies you becoming an adult. And college, oftentimes, you're going off somewhere else. So you're not living at home. You're living at a separate place, like Buenos Aires. It would be very typical to grow up in Rosario, but you move to Buenos Aires, and you get an apartment in Buenos Aires, so you stay in the dorms of Buenos Aires, and you go to college in Buenos Aires. You do that for 4 years. And that's kind of like a transitionary period into adulthood, and then you're 22, and then you're definitely off on your own. Mm-hmm. In Latin American countries, and I think more generally around the world, you stay at home for college, and you kind of just stay at home until you get married, I think, typically, especially in Latin America. Mm-hmm. Maybe in Europe, European countries, maybe you leave the home and get your own place before you get married when you have your own financial means. But yeah, it's not, you're saying, that's kind of how, but even still, like, most of the people I grew up with, highly educated people, a lot of them with their master's degrees, a lot of them went off to a separate place. Almost all of them went off to a separate place for college and lived on their own during college, but still, many of them come back to our hometown of Atlanta and raise a family in Atlanta or the surrounding areas. That's just kind of how people are in general. Yeah,
I feel that I'm probably getting that sense, because I have that idea of, Americans in my head, that they grew up in like a certain city, then they are off to college to a different city, and they end up getting a job in a totally different city.
Yes, that is true.
Or they're like part of the country. But I'm probably getting that sense because I live in DC, and what I feel about DC is like everyone, like from whatever part of the United States, they end up in DC.
Yes.
So like, I have a friend, she was born in California, she went to school in California, college in California, and then she ended up in DC. The other one, he was born in Massachusetts, Nantucket? Yeah. And he was born in Massachusetts, and then he went to school, I don't know where, and then he ended up in DC. Right. Like my other friend, she was born in Colombia, she moved to Miami. She went to college in Miami, and then she's now in DC. The other one, born in Chicago, then she went to UPenn, and then she ended up in DC. So I think like probably I'm getting that sense because DC, is like this like cosmopolitan city.
Well, not even, DC is just jobs.
Yeah.
You go to DC to work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So DC
I don't know.
is kind of a skewed market, but you are right. It is much more. It is a very American thing to do, to go off to college and then some people then do move back home, but it is very common as well for people to get a job in another city, not DC, in Chicago, and fucking Denver, and LA, and Seattle, wherever. It is very common for people to move all over the country.
Yeah,
much more so than in other countries.
Yeah.
But you know, we have a very big country, and the economy is great. It's kind of the center of the world, and so you know, it's not just New York, LA, DC, Chicago. Like every major American city, hundreds of them have their own thriving economy and industry where you can find jobs all over the place. But I think also, like for instance, I do have friends, for instance, that went off, you know, I went to high school with them. They went off to college to a separate place, and then maybe they went off to San Francisco for a few years, but then came back to Atlanta. So it depends. But yeah, the United States is much more transient, more generally. Yes.
But it's more like common to find Americans that are like moving around.
Totally.
That you're not going to find Argentinians that, you know, they went to college in Cordoba and then they moved to Rosario to get a job, or you're gonna do everything there.
Yeah.
So one of my friends, she's from a very small city in like near Rosario. It's like I don't know, it has like I don't want to. She would kill me if she heard me say that, but it's like 2,000 people like living in that city. They don't have like a university there.
Right.
So what are you going to do? You're going to go rent an apartment in Rosario and then go to do college in Rosario and get a job in Rosario.
Right.
So if you come from a very small city like near, you know, a big city, you're going to move to that big city and then start your life in that city. But you're going to stay there. You know, you're most likely you're going to stay there. Right. Some people actually go back, but those are like the minority.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're the same now. Like, so we can now talk about like so your dad was a doctor. Your mom was a stay-at-home, did various jobs, and then was a stay-at-home mom. Then siblings. How many siblings do you have?
I have a younger brother.
You have one younger brother.
He's 4 years younger than me.
4 years younger than you.
He's 26.
You're 30. He's 26. Yeah. So. You talked about you went to college, you worked in Rosario for a little bit in the private sector and in ideological sector, and then you decided you were going to move to Washington, D.C. And we'll pause there so you can go. Okay, we're back. I was trying to connect the dots up to modern day. So you worked in Rosario for a bit, but it just wasn't up to your liking. You wanted more. You're an ambitious young lady.
Yeah.
And then so you started looking for jobs outside the United States, which you told us about. You entertained eventually being a nanny. You entertained just moving to fucking North Pole so you could get Canadian citizenship. And then what exactly happened? I don't think we said exactly what happened specifically for you to end up in DC. What happened? Real quick, you and I met. Let me interject it.
I was gonna go to that too. I joined the Students for Liberty organization, which was like basically like a network of libertarian students. The whole organization started because, you know, you could actually tell that many universities around the world, not just like Latin America, they were not teaching, you know, Austrian economics or libertarian, you know, philosophy or the libertarian ideology, whatever you want to call it.
You also call it oftentimes, don't you call it classical liberalism?
Classical liberalism, yeah. It depends on who you're talking to. So in the United States, I would say libertarianism, but then if I'm talking to my European friends, then I'm going to say classic liberalism or liberal. You can use the word liberal because like liberal in the European sense of the world means classic liberal.
Right.
So I use it like interchangeably depending on who I'm talking to. So I joined this libertarian organization, which is basically connects, you know, students from all over the world, and I at the same time I was like joining them because, you know, that was the only place where I can actually share my ideas on, you know, government, taxes, and, you know, a philosophy of drug legalization, gay marriage, like way too many things that in some, you know, circles, I don't know, I couldn't talk to my friends from, you know, college about small government or low taxes because like they had, from my point of view, they had kind of like been brainwashed, and you know, and also my family, they were very conservative, so I couldn't talk to my mom and dad about like drug legalization because like they were gonna think I was like, you know, a pothead, or they were gonna think that I was like, I don't know, a heroin addict. So I couldn't, or like guns. like I couldn't talk to I remember like I couldn't talk to my dad about guns because like he's very Catholic, and the whole like Catholic I don't know like preach is like peace and a like peaceful like society. So I couldn't talk to my dad about guns, and also in Argentina like they didn't understand like the whole like gun like concept and self-defense, but also and also the only place where I could talk about all these things were in this libertarian think tank I was working at, but that wasn't enough. So I had to join Students for Liberty, so because they were like students or like people my age.
It's not even necessarily students, because you weren't a student at the time.
Yeah, I know. I was not.
First joined.
Well, I mean, I was a student when I first joined it, but then when I graduated college, I was still I was actually pursuing my master's degree in art in Buenos Aires. Like that like didn't go really well, but I was like pursuing like I was still a student because I was doing a master's degree in political economy and social sciences and something like that in a university in Buenos Aires. So I was kind of like technically a student, but
not all the members of Students for Liberty are students.
No. Even when I was not studying at a university, I was still part of the organization. So It's not like just students. Anyway, so like the libertarian think tank I was working at, it was like it wasn't enough. I need like another like group of people. I kind of like bonded with and shared some core values. That's how I saw it at that time. I think see it that way. So I shared some like core values with and the other good part of the organization is that I discovered that you could actually travel. You could actually travel like all over Latin America, and that's something that I've always loved. I saw my parents travel. So my parents, they used to take a whole month off just to travel to a different part of the world. Every year. So when they started doing it when I turned 6 or 7. So from the for the most part of my life, I saw my parents taking this month off just to travel, and they went to like exotic places like Malaysia, I don't know, then like all over Europe, Poland, South Africa, and I'm like, wow, like I want to do the same thing, but
Would they leave you at home?
Yeah, with my grandparents.
Okay.
But then I wanted to do it, but I was in my early 20s. I didn't have money. But then, I joined Students for Liberty, and I found these like cool people I could talk to, about guns, about like liberty, about like Hayek and the
about guns and liberty.
Like drug legalization. We can talk shit about our countries, our governments, and like it was fine. Like no one was like judging me for saying like I wish we could buy guns in Argentina. Like I wish people could do heroin on the streets, or like no one's like judging you.
Right.
Whereas if I had said that like in a conversation with my classmates,
yeah,
they wouldn't be like, gee, what the fuck, are you crazy? Bitch, yeah. So I found those people, and on top of
guns and liberty.
Well, I just
no, I hear you.
Those were the first like libertarian things that came to my mind.
Yeah, but that's often like the stereotype of even quote unquote libertarians, and I don't try to subscribe. I mean, we have very similar kind of political ideologies or life ideology or whatever, and it's, I guess if you had to put a word on it, it's libertarian, right? I hate even subscribing to anything that even has a label on it, right? I just believe that people should be allowed to do whatever the fuck they want in the world. I don't want to be part of a political party. I don't want to participate in the political system, quite frankly. I'm kind of even super hardcore than you. I'm like super almost anarchist, like just go to the woods and every man for himself type of deal. But anyway, that's kind of the negative stereotype when you start talking about freedom. I mean, like, right, you start using these buzzwords and people people start rolling their eyes like, all right, you fucking redneck or whatever.
No, but so what
it's not like we love guns.
Yeah,
right?
no.
It's just that we think people should be allowed to have guns. It's not like we want everyone to have guns. We're into like shooting things and shooting people, and like we're trying to start some sort of war. It's just that we think if the government's allowed to have guns, then the citizens should be allowed to have guns. Is kind of my whole thinking on it. But it's funny to me that you say guns and liberty, because that's kind of what people think of when they think of libertarianism. Like, all right, you crazy fucks, you want your guns and your drugs. It's like, no, we just want people to be able to make their own decisions about their own lives.
Yeah. You know? So I'm the same way as you are. I'm gonna keep saying, libertarianism just for the sake of the conversation. But again, I don't want to be boxed in. I don't want to be boxed in, she's a libertarian. I'm gonna say what I believe in, but for the sake of the podcast and the conversation, I'm just gonna be referring to myself or like what I believe as libertarianism. Right. Although I do not like to be boxed in because I fucking hate it. But for the sake of the conversation, I'm gonna say libertarianism. So I joined Students for Liberty. The first conference that they did was in Santiago, Chile. Uh-huh. So I went there, and then the following year, I think that was like 2012, 2013. Following year, I was invited to give a talk at the I think it was the first like formal, official Students for Liberty conference in Latin America. Uh-huh. I was invited to give a talk on Bitcoin. I became like a very like super like Bitcoin junkie fan around that time. So I was like on top of like everything related to Bitcoin, like 24/7. I was like obsessed. So and then I was then
where was that one?
Again in Santiago in Chile.
Back-to-back years.
Yeah. Okay. And then there were like a bunch. I gave a bunch of talks in Argentina, both in Buenos Aires, in Rosario. Then I was invited. We were organizing the second, third Latin American Conference of Students for Liberty in Guatemala in 2014. Yeah. And that's when I met you. So we were at this libertarian...
I guess also during that time you started working for Pan Am Post.
Oh my god, yeah. So I was an intern at the Pan Am Post, which is like an online newspaper.
It's like an online news outlet that covered, I guess, all world news, but with particular focus on Latin American news. Yeah. And then with a libertarian spin. Yeah. It was very clearly a website for libertarians. Yeah. Yeah, but it covered all of world news. Yeah. But particularly focused on Latin America, and then particularly focused also on like news that would be relevant or interesting to libertarians or libertarian thinkers, whatever. So you were interning for them. Yeah. And I started when I was living in Honduras in 2013, 2014. So right around this time, you're starting to get involved in SFL and Students for Liberty. I had stopped teaching in Phoenix, and I had moved to Honduras to like run this small nonprofit, and I started getting kind of jaded with all that down there in the Honduran government, which was very left, which was kind of the same thing. It was leftist, and then it had just recently gone through a military dictatorship, and now it was kind of shifting back to leftist, and then I just started looking at how fucking ridiculous the whole situation is, and starting to meet Honduran people and Honduran students and Honduran intellectuals, and just started to think like, damn, if these people could just get left the fuck alone, like they could handle their own shit, is basically what I started thinking. And then I started seeing how violent Honduras was and how intertwined the violence and the organized crime was with the government, that basically they were one and the same. And the reason that the country, that like the criminal element in Honduras was allowed to exist or was thriving the way it was because of protection from law enforcement and from the military. And that in fact, the primary issue with all of it was the fact that drugs were legal, that all of the criminal element in Honduras was because Honduras is this middle ground between cocaine production in North and South America and the buyers, the consumers in the United States. Honduras is right there in the middle. And then when there's this vacuum, and basically I was just thinking like, God damn, if cocaine was legal, Honduras would be fucking fine. Yeah. Like, because they're just trafficking all these drugs through here. And the government thinks they have to fight. Anyway, it's just this mess. I just basically started developing this philosophy like, God damn, leave these fucking people alone. If the government would just fucking disappear, if the military would disappear, this violence would disappear. And I started realizing that. And then I started having friends that were victims of the violence. I had friends that were getting shot. I had friends that were getting robbed on a daily basis. And then the government wasn't doing shit. So it's like, you're causing this problem, and then you're not even going to do anything about the symptoms of the problem you're causing. I started getting really frustrated. I was like, fuck government. And then so I started reading about like different approaches. And at the time, Honduras was going through an election. And I started reading about basically just like alternative approaches to governance in Honduras. And long story short, I got turned on to this. I kept finding these links to this website, Pan Am Post. And then so I just like had so much thoughts on my mind. I just started blogging about it on my own personal blog. And I guess I started posting them on Facebook or something. I don't remember what the fuck I did. But somehow the guy that was in charge of this news website, Pan Am Post, sent me an email or got in contact with me on social media and something was like, hey, would you want to start writing blogs for us? And so then I was just doing that for fun. And then I moved to Costa Rica and was doing another job working in education. And then when that job wrapped up in the summer, he came to me and offered me a full-time. Actually, he was in Honduras, and I met him for the first time in person. We got ice cream at a mall in Honduras, and we sat down. And I was about to take this job in Costa Rica, but it was just for a few months. And then after, I was thinking about going to the Peace Corps, which is kind of the exact opposite of libertarianism, kind of in a way. Or at least the people that typically do Peace Corps are very kind of traditional American liberal, like left-leaning Democrat liberal. And so he automatically had his own notions about Peace Corps, and he was like, dude, don't do the fucking Peace Corps. Come write for us. We'll pay you, not a lot, but we'll pay you more than you're going to make a Peace Corps. Anyway, and so once I got done with my job in Costa Rica, I was like, fuck it. Fuck the Peace Corps. I'm going to go work for this website. And so then I just started traveling around, writing for this website, editing for this website, and you were interning for them, I guess.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know how that actually happened. But I think many of the members at
I think they were recruiting. They were recruiting from SFL.
Yeah, they were working at Pen and Post. They were writing articles, and the other thing that I wanted to do is like put like my articles out there. And I saw the Pen and Post as a way of doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I started. So I think I contacted one of the members of Students for Liberty who was writing articles for the Pen and Post, and I was like, hey, how is it that you're doing this? And she's like, oh, you have to contact like this person. So I contacted him, and he's like, oh, do you want to intern with us? And I'm like, yeah, okay, but can I write my own articles? And he's like, yeah, okay. So the deal, I think, was like a 4-month internship, something like that, so where I can write my like some articles that I wanted. I had to run it by someone. They would approve it, and then they were going to publish it on the Pen and Post website. And I think I remember you like the first like article that that I wrote for the Pen and Post. You translated it.
Yeah. So you wrote it in Spanish, and I would get it.
But we hadn't met at that point.
No.
And then there's this conference, the second like Latin American conference of Students for Liberty takes place in Guatemala City.
Yeah.
And then I'm invited to give a talk there on, again, Bitcoin. And so I go there, and then they're like, I run into, the guy who was running the whole like pen and post thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, gee, like, we have some like people here from the Pen and Post. Do you want to meet them? Because like at that point, I just had, like, probably like with the exception of some people, the only contact that I had with everyone else was like online through chat, right?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. So from my perspective, we'll connect the dot here. So on my end, it's summer of 2014. I'm wrapping up the education job in Costa Rica. I decided to take the Pan and Post job, but there's no office, right? It's just a bunch of pretty much all young people, except the people that were like at the very top. Mm-hmm. I guess were older in their 30s and 40s. But for the rest of us, we're all in our 20s.
Yeah.
And we live all over the place. I think there were a couple Americans. I remember definitely me and this one other guy, bro-y guy. And then I feel like most people are just all over Latin America. Mm-hmm. Every country in Latin America I feel like was representative. And then I don't know if there's any people from Europe or Asia.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. It was based in Miami. And it was a big focus on Latin America. It's called the Pan Am Post. That means Western Hemisphere, basically. And so yeah, it was Western Hemisphere based.
Yeah.
So I was living in Costa Rica. I didn't even have a fucking place to live permanently. I was like, I'm just going to bounce around. And then it was like my first month I think working the job. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the guy who ran the website was like, oh yeah, by the way, like we're having a conference. There's a Students for Liberty conference in Guatemala City. I was in Costa Rica, so it's relatively close. He's like, feel free to come and join us. Like, we'll pay away the conference, we'll pay your lodging, everything. You just need to find a way to get up here. They might have even paid me to get up there. And I was super excited about it because the same thing. I didn't know anyone I was working with. I met the guy who ran the place for ice cream in Honduras for like an hour. But other than that, I just knew all these faces online that on our like whatever their forum for doing making the website was. So I was super excited to go up there and like actually meet people. And I wasn't like you. I wasn't reading libertarian thinkers or classical liberal philosophy or any shit. I was just pissed off in Honduras and started blogging. And then it started getting really interesting to me, especially when like Bitcoin started coming around and all these new political concepts I'd never heard of. I started finding very fascinating. But like I didn't have any sort of like intellectual basis for it. I was, it's just what I do. I just like to talk to people and like investigate alternative ways of thinking. And so I was super excited to go up there and like actually figure out what the fuck libertarianism is, or like talk to people that consider themselves libertarians, or fucking nerds that know what they're talking about. I didn't know shit. And so I went up there, and then we met each other there at that conference, and that was in 2014. But at that time we met at that conference in Guatemala. You didn't know you were coming to the United States, so we met in Guatemala. We hung out for like 2 or 3 days, the weekend basically. And then from there, I had to go back to a friend's wedding, and I had no plan. I knew I was going to work this job. I didn't have any plan. I didn't have a place to live. I knew I had from the conference, I had to go to a friend's wedding in Kansas. And honestly, from Kansas, I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. For the next couple months, I stayed at my mom's place, and then I bounced around the United States visiting friends and working just from my computer at friends' living rooms and couches and shit. Anyway, but you went back to Argentina, and you weren't sure what you were going to do either. You were trying to make it out of the Argentina, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think so there are like I would say like several reasons why I left Argentina, and I think starting to talk to you right after I came back from Guatemala is kind of like I made that switch, and I'm like, okay, I started considering the U.S. as a place, to emigrate to. So then we kept on talking, but kind of like, it's like everything. I think I saw it as, I was like playing it by ear. But then we decided to go on a trip.
Yep.
In the at the beginning of 2015 for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, it was Students for Liberty again. That was the
you're
basis for
right.
our shit.
Yeah, you're right.
You had to give another talk, right?
Yeah. So there was the International Students for Liberty conference in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
And
you were gonna talk.
Yeah. So yeah, it was it was a panel. I talked for like 5 minutes, to be honest. It wasn't like a
talk
super talk. And so I remember letting you know, hey, there's like this conference in Washington D.C. I really want to, because at that point I was like very into Students for Liberty.
And at that point I had quit.
The Pen and Post.
Yeah, I think around that point I decided I was going to quit, and I was just going to travel.
Yeah.
But then you told me about the conference,
and I'm like, hey, I was invited to give to participate in a panel. I think I'm gonna do it, and then like all of a sudden we were just like planning a trip for like a 2-week trip.
Yeah, because I was planning on just going to travel anyway. I had money saved up. I wasn't, I wasn't in any rush to do anything. So I was like, okay, cool. Instead of going down to Latin America, I'll just travel with this chick in the United States up and down the East Coast. And then we'll also go to the conference as part of it. And that's what we did.
Yeah, and that's like pretty much it. And that like we did the whole trip. We attended the conference, and then it was at that point, like during the conference, the libertarian think that I work at, it was like actually a sponsor of the conference,
right? And
they had people there at the table they're working. And I started talking to one of those guys. He worked at the libertarian think tank, and he's like, oh, we're offering internships, and that's how I found out about their like internship program. I'm like, I'm really interested in this, because the way I saw it as a like one-way ticket to the States. Because like once I got there, because like what I was like what I had in my head is like, okay, once I'm like in the United States, besides doing the internship and everything, you have to like 24/7 focus on getting a job there. When the internship ends.
So not only is it a ticket to the United States, but it's also the cherry on top is that it's in an area that you believe in ideologically.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a great situation.
Yeah.
You didn't know off the bat you were going to get the internship. You have to apply for it and everything.
Yeah. So when I came back, so we did the 2-week trip. I go back to Argentina, and then I'm like, okay, let's fucking do this. So, and I think that's when I started like narrowing my like the locations I wanted to emigrate to, and I think. At that point, I think that the U.S. became like the focus of the whole like job search and everything.
Well, you had just spent 2 weeks there, and we went to like school. Like we went to New York, went to D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia. So it was like you had been to the U.S. before with your family.
Oh yeah, so
but those are like family trips, right? You're going to fucking Disney World. Yeah. You're walking around Manhattan. Yeah. You're going to Red Sox games.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Ironically enough, like you travel with me and. I don't do like. I just walk around the city basically.
Yeah, I don't do like touristy stuff.
But I guess you liked that. I guess you liked like, oh, I like America, even though it wasn't. We weren't seeing like the pretty side or the tourist side.
No, but I remember like going to Whole Foods for the first time, and I'm like, what is this? What is it that I'm missing?
Yeah.
Because like and also like being able to buy like whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
Like whatever you want to buy, like you just like have to walk like what, like a block, 2 blocks. You go to CVS, like at that point to me that I was like living in Argentina. It was like
it's better than any grocery store.
It's like Disneyland.
Yeah.
It's like I wouldn't say like it's better than any like grocery store, but like yeah.
But then you go to Whole Foods.
But then I go to Whole Foods. And then, at that point, I also started to get into diet and nutrition and working out. Because that was the thing that I was like kind of missing. Because, I was still playing field hockey, but not like it's not that I wasn't like very into it. But, it's like, I wasn't like invested.
You're a grown woman now.
Exactly. And
you gotta get a job.
Yeah. And then, but at that point I was like becoming super interested in nutrition, and then I was like following all these like influencers on Instagram, like fitness influencers that were they bought all these like supplements or like Quest bars.
Yeah.
It's like Quest bars. I remember when I saw my first like Quest bar at a fucking CVS, I lost my mind because like in Argentina the imports were almost closed, or you had to pay like way too many tariffs, to get
There's no fucking Quest bars in Argentina.
Yeah, just to get like your package from the customs.
Yeah.
You have to pay like sometimes it depending on how much your package weighs. You have to pay like from 50 to like 90, sometimes 100% tax.
Yeah.
On like what you bought.
Yeah, I remember us traveling and you being like we were staying in hotels and shit, and I remember you saying things like, we were gonna split everything. Like we were traveling together, we were staying together, we were buying our groceries or our restaurants together. We were basically trying to split everything 50-50. And so like I would do the hotels in New York, and then it's like you're gonna do the hotel in Philadelphia on our next spot or whatever. And I remember you telling me like, can you do the hotel again? And like, I'll just pay you back later because in cash, when I get cash, when I get enough, like get to an ATM, because if I put it on my credit card, I have to pay like a 35% fee.
Yeah.
Because it's an Argentine card. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and also like I felt bad because like I'm going on a trip with this like guy from the from a first world country, and in my head I had, how am I gonna explain to this American guy that I have, if I use my credit card, I'm gonna have to pay 30% tax of whatever I buy outside Argentina.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is he gonna think? Like he's probably gonna think that I'm just like that I'm just like one of those girls that I want to take advantage of. Yeah.
Would you mind getting married as well? But yeah, then other things like you would buy stuff, but you weren't buying too much stuff. Yeah. And we started talking about that. And then you started telling me like, well, anything I buy, I have to sneak back in.
Yeah.
And like, I think you bought an iPhone.
No,
so you bought an iPad or something.
A friend of mine, he bought the iPhone with the credit card that someone lent him. and he shipped it to the hotel in DC.
Yeah.
And then, so when at the time that I was, doing customs, when I was at the airport in Argentina, I had to like hide the iPhone. I had to open the package. I had to open the iPhone box. And then I had to put the iPhone like in my sock.
Yeah.
And then the charger I had to hide in, because I also got it. I remember getting something.
I don't know, but I remember us being in the
Yeah.
hotel room, and it's like one of the last 2 days there, and basically you're like practicing if all these electronics can fit in your fucking clothes. Like, is this iPhone gonna fit my fucking underwear? Can I shove this charger up my ass? Like, I was like, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? And then you started explaining it to me, and like once again, I'm like, God damn, no wonder this chick is a libertarian. Like, fuck that. That sounds horrible. No wonder she wants to move to the United States.
Yeah, because like basically, if they find the iPhone that you bought in the United States, you have to pay. I think it's like at that point it was the worst, like not worst, because I know things are like really bad in Argentina, but one of the worst like moments in the Argentine economic history. So you have to pay a 75% tax on what like on
Right.
the electronics you buy outside Argentina. So, and who was gonna pay for that? Me. And I was like spending all those like dollars. I didn't have like that much money in my bank account, so I couldn't run the risk of like the like Argentine like police or like customs police like finding that iPhone that I had in my sock.
Yeah.
So it was like crazy. And so I remember like thinking, oh my god, this dude is gonna think that I'm some sort of like, I don't know, like a smuggler. But that's how you actually do it.
Yeah.
That's how you like actually do it. I remember like when my dad, he bought his laptop in the US in one of the trips we made. He had to hide it in like he had like undershirt. Is that what undershirt? Yeah. And then he had the computer like flat like on his stomach.
Yeah.
And then he had like a sweatshirt and his coat or jacket.
Right.
And that's how he like had to sneak it in.
Yeah. And this is a doctor, right? This isn't like some fucking smuggler, dude. This guy's a fucking doctor.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
you go back to Argentina.
Yeah, I go back to Argentina, and I'm entertaining the idea of doing the internship at the think tank, and I ended up applying. In March that year, I get invited to participate in a panel in Lima, in Peru, and my current boss at that time, the person that was running the department I was gonna intern at, in the at the Libertarian think tank, he was also in that conference. And I go, oh, okay, I'm gonna. So I had already submitted my application, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna talk to him
in person,
and be in person, and I'm gonna be like, hey. I submitted my application, and also he was he was gonna see me on the panel, and I was like prepared and everything, and he's gonna have a good idea of what I like, what I do or whatever. So I talked to him, and he's like, yeah, sure. But then someone told me, so I had applied for the internship in summer, and someone told me the internships for fall, they were longer.
Yeah.
And I wanted to change my application from summer to fall 2015. So I go and I was like, hey, by the way, I know I talked to you about my intern application and everything. Do you think I can, instead of doing it in the summer, I can do it during fall? And he's like, yeah, sure. Like, why do you want to change your application? Well, I have exams. I don't know. Just I want to the longer I can stay in the United States for me was the better. So and he's like, yeah, just shoot me an email, and I'm gonna forward it to the student program manager,
right. Intern coordinator.
Yeah, intern coordinator. So that's what I did. I moved my application from summer. Is that deferred?
Yeah.
to fall 2015, and I was planning on, arriving in the U.S. I think mid-September, and the internship was through February, I would say.
Okay.
So late September through beginning of February, I was in the internship, and 1 month later, I get accepted to the internship program, and then things start getting worse and worse and worse in Argentina. And I think it was April in 2015, and I quit my job. I was working at the local libertarian think tank in Rosario, and I was like fed up. And I had been traveling. I had also, I was also invited in December 2014. I had been invited to a conference in Germany. So I also, was traveling like throughout Europe. I spent those 2.5 weeks in Europe traveling. I had been traveling almost like all over Latin America at that point, and I'm like, Argentina is not my place. I don't belong here. So I remember me quitting my job, and I didn't tell anyone. Of course, I had made friends with people at that local think tank, and of course they knew that I had quit my job, but I was still going to the office and just like working for free. Yeah, for free. But at the same time I was like looking for jobs, right? And
you're thinking you're going to do this internship, but it doesn't start till September.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think I did it at that point. I didn't think much about what I was doing, quitting a job in Argentina at that time, 2015. The economy was like awful, but I think I did it because I think I was trying to put myself in an uncomfortable zone, and that's how probably I operate the best.
It's like a burn your ships approach. Have you heard this philosophy? You burn the ships, like you go invade the island, set those motherfuckers on fire because we're not going back. We're taking over this island or we're dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I operate under huge stress and pressure. And I'm like, okay, G, now you don't have a job. You have to pretend you have a job because what I was going to say, I was 24. I was still living with my parents, and a side of me, a part of me felt ashamed because I just quit my job. I'm still living, with my parents. I wanted, to move outside my parents' house, but at the same time, I couldn't do it because I had this job. They weren't paying me that much, and on top of that, now I quit, and it's like my whole life is like a disaster.
Yeah.
And I do not know what I'm gonna do. So I started applying. I think I applied to, I would say 15 different jobs in the United States. Some in Europe. One a bank in London. I remember they were it was like a research position, entry level. And they were like, oh yeah, we want to interview you. And I said no. Because I think at that point, I was like, I'm moving to the United States. I'm not going anywhere else. I'm going to move to the United States. And I remember going to bed every single day, and it's just I pictured myself living in the United States. And this is going to sound crazy, but that's what I did every single day. And my whole mentality was you're gonna live in the United States, you're gonna live in the United States. And that's how every day I was constantly thinking about that. So I started interviewing with different think tanks, different organizations, not necessarily libertarian, but just most of them were libertarians because those were the people that I met at the conference, the International Students for Liberty conference. So those were the people, those organizations I was focusing on. But I was open to any organization. Marxist organization. If you're gonna sponsor my green card, hell yeah, I'll turn your Marxist organization a libertarian one. But just please hire me. everyone said no. So and it wasn't like even that I was like trying to apply to I was looking for a research position. So it's like anything, pretty much anything, and that's how I started like entertaining the idea of like becoming an au pair and whatever I could do, just to leave Argentina. Like events coordinator, there was one, and I'm like, I'm so bad like talking to people, but it's like, okay, gee, like picture yourself like living in the United States. Yeah, fine, I would talk to anyone. So like, give me a job. Most of them didn't sponsor visas. They were like, oh yeah, I mean, we really like you and everything, but we don't sponsor visas for immigrants. And I get a text from now a former colleague of mine, and he was working in the international development department at the libertarian think tank I'm currently working at, and he's like, hey, our research assistant just quit. Are you interested? I know you applied for our internship, and we know you, because like I don't want to say that I was like kind of like well known, quote unquote, in the within the libertarian movement in Latin America, because I was like getting invited to all these like to give all these talks and everything, and make it to the International Students for Liberty conference, the one that was held in Washington D.C. It was kind of like a big deal, so they knew me. And he's like, hey, why don't you email now my current boss and just tell him that you're like willing to be with work at the think tank, at the libertarian think tank, for like 4 or like more than 5 years, and you can stay with them, and you've been doing this and this and this and that. And
basically tell them like, hey, I'm not just interested in the internship, get my feet wet.
Yeah.
I'm all in, baby.
Yeah.
If you want me, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. I remember writing that email. I read that email like almost like, I don't know, 1,000 times. It was in Spanish, because like my boss, he's Peruvian. So he moved to the States when he was like probably like, I don't know, 7, 8 years old. So he's Peruvian, he knows Spanish. So I wrote the email in Spanish, and I basically told him like, please hire me. By the way, I applied for the internship. Like, just I just wanted to give him a heads up. And 2 days later, he answers back, and he's like, okay, are you free for an interview? Do you want to talk? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I had my first interview in
like
Spanish. Yeah, through Skype in Spanish, and I had to go to actually like the think tank's office, because like I was not gonna tell him like I'm unemployed. Right. I just quit my job like 2 months ago. And I'm just like working for free.
Tank, you're like pointing to people, like invisible people in the background, like, yeah, I'll do that again.
So I'm like,
it's real busy around here.
So I talked to my best friend. He ran like the research department at the local think tank. He ended up being like becoming my best friend. So I'm like, hey, like I have an interview for like this like American think tank. Can I use the office? He's like, yeah, sure.
With all these books behind you.
Yeah.
Like,
so it was like
you get like people coming in.
I wanted to look professional, you know. So I talked to. So I do the interview, and he's like, yeah, I mean, yeah, good. So he wanted to see what my English level was. So he sends me an article that I have to translate. An article he had written in Spanish, so I have to translate it to English. And I'm like, oh God, like I haven't spoken English like when? Like last time I had to was like when I was, I don't know, at the CVS in like February. And that was it. I'm like, okay. So I did my best. I think I ran it by you.
Yeah.
And you edited it. And I sent it to to my boss, and he was like, okay. So we did a second interview, and he was like, okay, let me talk to the HR department just to see how the visa thing works and everything. And at that point, I was expecting a no, because that's how it usually went. I had also had interviews at these like think tanks, and they were like, oh yeah, we really like you, but we cannot sponsor your work visa. So
so just to explain that real quick, that's like a huge deterrent for companies or organizations to hire immigrants, because it's expensive. It's not like you can just hire some fucking person from China or Africa or wherever and just bring them in like you're an American. It costs money.
Yeah.
You need, in order to live and work in the United States for that long, you have to have a green card.
Yeah.
Or a visa, which I hopefully will turn into a green card at some point. But in order to do that, the company has to sponsor your visa, which costs like $10,000.
Yeah.
And you're working for technically it is a non-profit organization. It's not generating revenue here. They're a think tank, and so that could be a major deterrent for a company or organization. It's you need to demonstrate that you're hot shit and that it's worth that organization to pay you not only your salary but also an additional $10,000, and on top of that paperwork and to navigate the bureaucracy, and a lot of times you got to get lawyers involved if you're going to continue with the immigration process after the visa and you want to apply for your green card. So it's kind of a pain in the ass and an expensive pain in the ass for these organizations to hire immigrants. And that's the H-1B. B or V?
B, as in business.
B as in business, taking care of business.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, So he's like, okay, I'm going to get back to you once I talk to HR. And I remember that week, I went into this like a new rabbit hole, and I found myself at 5 a.m. just like reading immigration law, about immigration law, which I have no idea about.
United States immigration law?
Yeah, United States immigration law, and all the requirements you have to meet to, be granted a work visa. And I'm talking to, and also my parents didn't know anything about this, and very few people know. I think, my former boss at that point, he knew that I was interviewing with them. Then my best friend from Brazil, he knew that I was applying, and that I was, at that stage where they had to decide if they were gonna sponsor my visa or not. And the reason I talked to him was he's a lawyer, and he's like very like, he loves the United States, and he's like very into United States like legislation.
Yeah.
And he kind of like knew. He also was looking for immigrating to the United States, so he had way more information than I had at that point. So that's why I talked to him, but it was like that was it, and that was it.
I don't know shit about the immigration process. I remember just helping you out with this, like
the article.
Is this gonna work? Well, the article, and then like financially, because the salary you were being offered was like
oh my god,
$32,000 or something.
A year, yeah.
And you were going to be living in Washington, D.C.?
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I don't know. Like, I guess it's possible. I mean, that's what I had made. That's actually exactly what I made my first year teaching. I made $32,000 my contract, and I taught special education. I got additional $2,000. So I made $34,000. But I was living in Phoenix, Arizona. Mm-hmm. My rent my first year was like $425 a month or something in Phoenix.
For a one bedroom?
No, for a two bedroom.
Oh, two bedroom.
Two bedroom. Both of us paid like $425 or $450 or something. Nothing, dude. Combined, that's $900. You still couldn't get an apartment for that.
Yeah.
I mean, DC in the DMV area, you're paying minimum $1,000, and if you're paying $1,000, you're living in like a basement.
Yeah.
So I remember trying to help you out with that and like pick out areas. I remember you were looking at like, no, but I've seen apartments in Anacostia.
Upson Hill.
They're like $800, and I was like, dude,
you don't want to live there.
In Anacostia, like you're a little Argentinian girl moving here, living by yourself, a little white girl by herself, and technically a brown girl, I guess, or white girl, whatever you are, a little Latina girl,
light brown
girl, and in Anacostia, like, you're gonna have to navigate the metro. You don't know shit. Yeah, that's not a good idea. I remember helping out with that, but then, sorry, make a long story short. Eventually, you get the job. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, so like a week later, he's like he sent me an email. He's like, hey, can we meet on Skype at, I don't know, whatever, tomorrow? I'm like, yeah, sure. And he's like, okay, so we're gonna move forward with the the whole like visa process. And I think at that time I was in Buenos Aires because I was doing your master's, doing my master's that I never finished in political economy and social sciences. And I remember I was in class and I get this email saying like, hey, can we talk tomorrow because we can move forward with the whole like visa process. And I'm like, oh my god, like I am moving to the United States.
I want to cry right now. I seriously want to cry right now.
And just like, no, I get like super emotional.
Yeah, I bet. Like, are you kidding?
It's like,
I literally have tears in my eyes right now.
It was like, oh my god. And then I'm like, no one knows, because I hadn't told my family, because I was getting so many no's as an answer that I didn't tell anyone. Because right. The first like interviews that I was doing, I was like, hey mom, I'm interviewing with this people, and my mom was like, who are they? Like, is it like Coca-Cola company? No, mom is like a fucking think tank, like in the middle of nowhere. It's like, and what do you do? Because like, and I imagine like as a parent, she was like concerned that I was like looking for jobs, she didn't know that I had quit my job.
A maid at some fucking factory in fucking, Topeka, Kansas.
Yeah. And so, I get the first no, the second no, the third no. I'm like, I'm not going to tell anyone else. Right. Like, I didn't want to jinx it.
Right.
So then I'm like in Buenos Aires, I'm like, oh my god, shit. Like I'm moving to the States, and then oh my god, no one knows. And so I go back to. So I was in Buenos Aires. The next like couple of days, like the 3 days later, I go back to my city, and then I'm having dinner with my family, and I go, I'm moving to the United States, and my brother starts like laughing. And he's like, gee, you're joking. No, I'm gonna start. And I remember he's like, I had like memorized the address of the think tank. I'm like, no, I'm gonna be working at 1000 Massachusetts Avenue, Northwest Washington D.C. And my mom and my dad are like looking at each other, and they're like, what?
This is just at your apartment?
Yeah.
I'm crying. Can't see you. The tears in my eyes.
And I was like, I was super happy, but at the same time I was like, how does this like whole thing of moving to a different country, how does it work? Yeah.
They get on a plane and bring some clothes?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh my god, like I don't know. And I was 100% sure that I was gonna say yes. I mean, I had already confirmed, like, yeah, right. Just like please, like move forward with the whole like immigration process, started like ASAP. So I told my parents, like at first they didn't believe me. And I'm like, I don't know what else to say. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to show them the emails. So I showed them the emails.
In English?
No, they were in Spanish. Okay. Like, they were in Spanish, sorry. And I show them the emails, and they're like, where's that think tank? What is that? What is a think tank?
Right.
What are you gonna do? Where is that? And they started like asking so many questions I had no answers to.
Right. Yeah. Oh shit.
Like the only thing I knew at that point is that they were starting my visa process. I didn't know if they were gonna give me the work visa or not. And at that point, that I was gonna have to buy a one-way ticket, and I didn't even know. I didn't. That's the only things that I knew. So I start doing all the paperwork for the visa. I travel to Buenos Aires because you have to go to the U.S. Embassy to do the interview. They ask you like a bunch of questions. It's like super crazy because like the first thing that the first time you do the interview, even if you want to get a tourist visa, the first thing that people recommend you is that you don't have to say that you have family in the United States.
Right, because then they think you're going to stay.
Yeah, because they think that you're going to overstay.
Yeah.
So I remember them like asking me a question. Like they asked me about, the think tank I was going to work at and everything. And then the question comes, and they say, do you have family in the United States? I'm like, no.
No, nobody.
No, I don't.
No one.
And then apparently, like in my application, I think I said that I also spoke German. So I would say like for 5 minutes, they interviewed me in German just to make sure that I wasn't lying. And thank God.
Did that guy bring in a German guy?
No, the person probably spoke German. I think what I think they did is like they chose a person that also spoke German to be in the interview me, and they asked me. I think I don't even remember. She asked like they were like basically yes no questions, but they were she asked me, does your family come? Do you have a German background? I said, yes. Then where was your, German relative born? In what city? And then I said, like, Karlsruhe. And just like she like, I think she wanted to make sure that I was not lying in my, whole application. So then she's like, okay, approved.
That was it right there?
Yeah. That was in September.
Yeah, September. I have the date on my phone. I remember when you told me. You sent me you WhatsApp me, and I still have it saved in my phone. G visa anniversary.
Yeah, and then it was the first week of September.
Yeah, it's in September. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay. So they took my passport and everything because I mailed it to you with the visa stamp. And I'm like, okay, like this is it. I passed the interview, and now I have to start packing. And then I contacted, my employer, and I go, I just, the embassy approved my visa. The interview went well. How does this work? Like, what is the next step? Because I didn't know how to ask him.
Monday.
Yeah, I didn't know like how to like ask him like
right.
Yeah. And he's like, okay, we need you like ASAP, like ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Can you start like in 2 weeks? What? Like in 2 weeks? So I was gonna get my passport back with a visa stamp like within like 4 or 5 business days, and then so basically I had 2 weeks to say goodbye to everyone. And
find an apartment.
And figure out my like new life in DC.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I started packing, and that was like super difficult because I wanted to. I'm not a very I don't get attached to things very easily, but they were like my books. I wanted to bring them all with me, but I mean I couldn't. My clothes. I can get whatever I want here.
Well, you're coming from a family of tailors. You make your own clothes.
Yeah. So I started packing, and it's like I think my parents they started like to realize that I was not coming back.
Damn, she's not lying.
Yeah. And
now she keeps packing, I guess.
Yeah, I started all my like farewell like gatherings with my friends. Not that I had like a lot of friends. I usually try to keep my friend group like as small as possible. Just like very 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 like close friends. And I started saying goodbye to people, and then they my employer he buys me the ticket.
They bought your ticket?
Yeah, the one-way ticket. I think it was September 17th, September 16th.
Yeah, I have that date in my phone too.
And
USA anniversary.
Yeah, and and that was it. And then I got on the plane, and I remember, trying to look at everything just to try to, remember like what the city looks like. I remember the trip to the airport, the drive to the airport, and that was it. I had a layover in Sao Paulo in Brazil, and then a layover in Miami, and then finally DCA, baby.
Hey, you had one friend that we had worked at the Pan Am Post with that lived in DC.
Yeah, and she was Salvadorian, and she was doing the internship.
Oh, she's working at
she was doing the internship at
the think tank.
At the think tank, and she was living in Maryland in this like nun's house. Nun, yeah. And she's like, oh, the basement, no one's like actually renting the basement. Do you want to rent the basement? I'm like, yeah, I mean, what am I going to do?
Yeah,
So I started paying like $450 or $500 for the basement. It was like pretty big, but it was like dirty AF. It was awful. Like spider webs like everywhere. Like everything was greasy. I had to...
Welcome to the American dream, baby.
So I.
But that is real. I mean, that's things that I think people that live outside the United States don't understand. Like, you don't just come to America and you get your fucking Porsche.
You live in a condo.
In your fucking house with a backyard and a picket fence. And, and that's not just for immigrants. That's for everybody. Yeah. Like, there's plenty of people in America born into poverty or born into low middle class or middle class where you hustle. Like, the same thing with me. I was born into a very middle class, maybe lower middle class. I was raised by a single mom, and don't get me wrong. Like compared to the rest of the world, I had a fucking amazing childhood. But we were struggling. It was a single mom. We struggled to pay the bills. She struggled to put food on the table. And then once I graduated, and then when I went to college, I struggled. I had the same thing. I lived in shitty apartments. I had to take out loans to pay. It's like America. You come to America, you gotta hustle. It's like you just get the ticket to come in. You get the ticket to come in the door, and that's it. You just get in. You're just paying to get in the door. You don't get anything for the price of admission other than getting in the door. Then then the real work starts. You're just getting in the door. You don't get fucking put on some like elevator to the top of America to the American dream. You still gotta hustle. I'm still hustling for it. You're doing a better job achieving your American dream than I am, right? Like because. Well, anyway, you start hustling in your spiderweb basement. Yeah,
so I'm in this like sketchy neighborhood in Brentwood, Maryland. Where is it? Like east? Northeast?
A little bit north, yeah. It's kind of east of the city, basically. It's kind of east of downtown DC.
And there I am. I arrived on a Tuesday, and then I was starting on the following Monday, so I had like 4 days or so, to walk like know kind of like get to know the city, get my social security number.
Yeah, baby.
And then meet my boss like in person. And then just start working. Yeah. So
And you're not getting any public assistance because you're making $32,000. You make $32,000 in a city in a very liberal left-leaning city like DC. You can get public benefits. You get food stamps. You get rent support, but I don't think you're eligible for that.
I'm not eligible because I'm an immigrant.
Yeah, you're like living the real hustle life because other American citizens making $32,000 can apply for all kinds of public support, free health care. Food stamps, support for your rent, support for your utilities, especially in a city like DC.
Yeah.
Like I moved back to DC, and last time I lived in DC, because I had spent half the year traveling, my income on paper appeared very low. So I moved back to DC. The last time I lived there and became a personal trainer, my personal trainer is an independent contractor job, didn't provide health insurance, and because my previous tax statement had just been 1 year of one semester of teaching, my income was very low. They gave me free healthcare right fucking away.
Yeah.
And so, but you didn't have that shit. You had to hustle just on $32,000.
Yeah.
And so,
and at that point, I didn't. I think now that I've been here for like 5 years, I kind of know how much money you have to make in DC, to have a certain like living standard. But at that point, I'm like $32,000 a year.
Yeah, baby.
Like the Argentinian economy was like a train wreck.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm gonna be making. And I remember like my employer being like, okay, I just want to let you, and he was like, kind of like, I just want to let you know that, the salary is a entry-level salary. It starts like $32,000 a year. And I'm like, yeah! Where do I have to sign?
Yeah.
Because I had no clue.
No.
No
and
clue.
$32,000, $32,000 American dollars in Argentina, you're a baller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like a millionaire.
Yeah.
So I had no idea, and I remember like people saying like 32, like you especially, $32,000.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that and me thinking like, damn, this is gonna be tight.
You know what?
Shit is
like,
gonna be tight.
Like,
whatever.
Thank you, America.
Yeah.
So I was living in that basement. I lived there for. I remember the first purchase that I made. I was able to go to a Giant,
a supermarket.
a grocery store. That was like a mile away from the house I was staying in, and I was so happy I could buy, I don't know, non-fat Greek yogurt. Then I was able to buy my Quest bars.
Yeah.
Those like things, and I don't know. I remember that like first purchase, like because I was like, actually able to buy all the things that I couldn't buy in Argentina. That fit my like current like nutrition or like diet, right? And I don't know, that was awesome. So
It's still awesome.
Yeah, it's still awesome. So I started as a research assistant. That's in late September, and in November, close to Thanksgiving, I find an apartment in Ballston, in Arlington, in Virginia. And it was a huge, like I was, at that point, I started to, becoming more aware of my finances. Because at that point, I was just like spending, $500 on rent. But now it's like from 500, I was jumping to like 1,100. And it was this like tiny, like, what was it, like a row house? No,
it was an apartment.
Yeah, it was an apartment.
Yeah.
It was like on the first floor. It was a 1-bedroom. It was like more than a mile from the metro.
Yep.
And
it was based in a Latino neighborhood.
Yeah.
I think you only got in there because you made $32,000.
Yeah.
I think it was a rent controlled or like not public housing, but public subsidized housing, which you still live in public subsidized housing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anyway. But yeah. But it's a big deal. But it's a hustle. Now you're super far away from the city.
Yeah, now I have to,
You're not close to a metro. So it's a long walk in the morning in the metro.
Yeah, especially, during, like, in winter and with the snowstorms and everything, I was walking that mile with the, like, biggest smile on my fucking face. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't care if it rains, if it snows, if it's, super hot outside. I'm gonna walk that mile with the, like, biggest smile on my face because I'm in the fucking United States. I'm living in the United States. And
then you get to start doing things. I remember, like, you went to IKEA, bought a cat. You have to buy
oh my god,
furniture.
yeah, I went to IKEA with my parents.
Yeah.
So my parents, they came visit right when I switched apartments, when I moved. So they helped me move, and I remember my parents.
And this one thing, real quick. And sorry if I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think I admire this about you because you do come from money in Argentina. I mean, you're not like a fucking princess. Your parents don't like own like a fucking like oil company or something. But your dad's a doctor, right? They belong to a country club. In Argentina society, they have money. But once again, you grew up in an apartment in Argentina. You didn't have some like big mansion. You grew up in an apartment, right? Where it's like a 3-bedroom apartment. So even still, you didn't have like a lavish lifestyle. But your parents could afford to support you in Argentina.
Yeah.
They had the money to send you money if you would have allowed them.
Yeah.
But you made the decision early on
Yeah, not to take money from
not to take money from your parents. This is your American dream. You're doing this shit on your own.
Yeah.
And even as our relationship started to evolve, and we won't get into that this episode, but even as our relationship started to evolve and get more intense romantically, and like I started seeing kind of how much of a pain in the ass all of this was, the whole visa process and all this shit, and eventually I didn't want to live in DC anymore. I kept offering like, dude, let's just get married. Let's just get married. Let's just get married. Not because I want to get married or that I was confident that you and I were going to spend the rest of our life together, anything like that. But it's like, it's just easier for the visa. I don't want to get married anyway. I'm not planning on getting married. So I feel like I have this free fucking citizenship card that I can give to anyone. So I was like, dude, let's just go to the fucking courthouse and sign the papers. And then, then you'll be a citizen. Then we can move to wherever the fuck we want. And we don't have to worry about all this bureaucratic bullshit. But no, same thing. You're not taking money from your parents, and you're not taking your citizenship from some dude. You're going to earn your citizenship. Yeah. And I've always respected the fuck out of that decision. So anyway, I just wanted to make that quick aside. You're in America hustling, the American dream. You've gone from like, you've made it to America, but like your big reward is like, welcome to poverty in America.
Which is like, by the way, way better than, being like a part of the middle class in Argentina, or like like middle upper class in Argentina.
Yep.
So, my parents, they came visit in November, near Thanksgiving, and we went to IKEA. That, they helped me buy...
Yeah, they bought you a couch.
Because, I had to bring, from Argentina, all my savings, which most of them were, like, in Argentine pesos, which were, like, they were worth nothing.
Dog shit, yeah.
And then I had some, like...
Bitcoin?
I had Bitcoin, and then I had, like, $1,000.
American.
Yeah, American dollars. And that was, like... pretty much it.
Yeah.
So then my parents came visit. They helped me, buying, a kitchen table, like a TV stand, my bed, and they helped me buy all that stuff because I literally couldn't afford it.
You literally did not have any money left.
Yeah, I had no money whatsoever, and I remember like feeling super bad and like talking to my dad and be like, Dad, I know you're gonna call me like stubborn and everything, but I just feel bad that I moved here because I wanted to become, independent, and I wanted to move out from my parents' house, and now you're here in my apartment in the United States, but you're still, helping me buy all this shit. And he was like, no, gee, like I'm always gonna be here to help you and everything, but in my head, I still, I have to do it. I have, because But, again, I couldn't.
And 5 years later, just to say this, I don't mean to make this like a Kiss G's ass fest. Well, 5 years later, you have that same fucking bed. You have that same couch. You have the same table.
Stand,
you have the same TV. You have like 4 pieces of furniture, and then the exact same ones that your parents helped me buy at IKEA 5 years, and nothing has changed. They're all in perfect.
Even my pillows, I think.
Yeah, they're all in perfect condition. Same mattress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm low maintenance. So the following year, so my parents leave, they spend Thanksgiving with me. Then for Christmas, I go to, my like some friend's house. And then the following year, I get my first raise. And that was a raise? Yeah.
Yeah, it is one quick.
Oh, and it was,
it was a big raise, wasn't it?
It was it was big the following year.
You jumped to 50 within 2 years.
Yeah.
Not to put your salary out there.
Yeah,
sorry.
I don't care.
Oh.
I think it was like 3 years. It took me 3 years to get to 50, I think.
Okay.
But
each dude, when you're making that little money, going from 30 to what it is, 35?
36, I think. 36,
that's
37.
Big, dude.
I was like, yes. And it was like probably, like $30, like 30 more bucks a month?
Nah, it's more than that.
More? Well, I don't know.
Whatever it is.
But it was like, the way I thought about it was like, okay, this is like when, these are my groceries for the week.
Right.
So I started saving money. I downloaded an app to help me save money. And also, like, I was not going out, that often because I didn't have friends, period. Because, like, my friend from El Salvador who, helped me with housing during the first, like, 3 months, she went back to El Salvador. So I had no friends, I knew no one. I mean, I knew you, but you were not in DC.
No.
Then I knew my boss, but he was like a married guy and he had family and everything. So I mean, he's
right. You guys aren't hanging out.
Yeah, I just knew him. So then, and I'm kind of like an introvert in some ways, but I had to put myself like out there and start like and make an effort to make friends. But I think like during the first year, I was kind of so focused on how much money do I have to save for this? How much I don't know, money do I have to save for I don't know whatever? How much money can I spend on Uber? And I remember that first year, I worked my ass off. I was like sometimes like some days I was working until so I started at 9 a.m. and then I sometimes like went back home at 9 p.m. or so. Or like one day, like during like when I had to work on like a big project, I was probably going home at 11, probably 12 midnight.
You're not getting paid more for that.
No. But I just did it because the same way. And I always thought, and I talked to my grandpa about it all the time. And he's like, gee, if you like, he always said, he started talking, and that's how I started to know, my family more when I connected more with my mom's side of the family, because like they had to they struggled a lot like financially, and they were just like hustle. So I remember like talking. I didn't want to talk to my parents that much because I didn't want to worry. I don't and then so I really started connecting with my grandpa, with my mom's dad, and with my grandparents. And I remember like talking to my grandpa, and it's like, grandpa, like, first off, I'm doing great. Just want to make it clear, I'm like doing super good. I'm living the American dream. I'm like, I love it here, but like sometimes I don't want to work anymore. I'm like super tired because I was working out because I was working out. I was like
you're into it. You take care of yourself very well.
And I'm like I'm tired. Like during on Saturday, I was just like on the couch. I didn't want to do anything. And he's like, gee, you know what? Like you have to work your ass off, and it's gonna pay off. Eventually it's gonna pay off. Just like keep on doing what you're doing, and eventually it's gonna pay off. Like I promise it's gonna pay off. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Like when is it gonna pay off? When? So I worked during like that whole year, and one thing that I'm kind of like proud of is that if anyone needed, and that's what also my grandpa told me, because like that's how my grandpa was like moving jobs, and like he learned like all these like skills, because he's like, gee, if they need like a Spanish translator, you raise your hand.
Right.
If they need, I don't know, like what, and then you make an effort, you learn that skill, and then you can do like a new thing,
right.
And then you start developing like new skills. And he talked like in general terms. It's like I think still no one knows what I do,
right.
what I do, but and I think that's what I did. I started doing all the social media stuff with no like background in like community manager stuff.
Yeah.
I started like doing the whole like social media, so I started to to take on like more and more responsibilities. And then they were like, okay, we have to give this bitch a raise, because I was not only doing I was not only working as a research assistant. I started like managing like other projects, especially the Latin American project that we have for Latin America. So I started getting super involved in that, and I started coming up with new ideas, and and that eventually, as my grandpa said, it paid off, because like the following year I jumped to $45,000 a year. I'm like, yes! And then I start, I became close with some of the girls at some of my colleagues. They eventually, left the think tank. They started working at, other places, but we kept the friendship, and I started like going out more often. I was like allowing myself to, I don't know, join them for dinner, which was like something that I was not doing at a 32,000
dollars.
Yeah. So and I started like saving money because I still wanted to travel. We met. Well, we also like saw each other. I traveled to Phoenix. Then you invited me over to Chicago. So I was like, also like traveling around the U.S. and I don't know. I thought it was like super cool.
And you were traveling out. I mean, you were saving enough. And once again, super impressive in my opinion. You were saving enough money to travel. You were taking trips to Europe now and then.
Yeah.
You started working on other shit. I mean, we don't need to go into like all the shit you do, but you started doing other projects working on. Can we talk about like HFI?
Yeah.
Like the Human Freedom Index, which is a big thing that Cato does. But you started dedicating a lot of time to that. You did a TED Talk at one point.
Yeah. I was invited to give a TED Talk.
In Germany, right?
Yeah, in Germany, in Bochum, yeah.
And then, but at some point, you start getting, it seems, talk to us about the transition. It seems like you started getting less interested in kind of the ideology and libertarianism and more interested kind of in the hard data, numbers, math.
Yeah. I've always been, I think, kind of like, let's say like rational person. I always liked, math and hard sciences in general. And so I think it all started when I decided I was going to get a master's degree. I had been, flirting. That
was just kind of a dream though, always like kind of step one was get into the United States.
Yeah.
Step two is kind of get a full-time job in the United States. Yeah. And then step three dream, like next level, part of your American dream was go to college in the United States, or go to an American university. And you already have your undergraduate, obviously, so master's degree. And you had been working on your master's degree in Argentina.
Yeah, but I quit that.
You just abandoned it. It just wasn't worth it because you got the job.
Yeah.
And so then the next level dream was master's degree in the United States.
Yeah. And I'm like, how do I do how does it work? Because because I had, that idea in my head. I'm like, I'm going to get a master's degree in the United States. And then the more I start thinking about it, it's like, how am I gonna? How does it work?
Yeah.
And then so I started like talking to different people, and they're like, "Oh, are you working full time? You're crazy." I'm like, "Oh my god, am I like?"
You can't afford to not work full time.
Yeah,
for multiple reasons. A, financial. B, you have to work full time to be in.
The first thing is like my visa, because like my visa stamp is attached, to my employer, it's linked to my employer.
Yeah, so
and it's also a full time job.
We didn't really even mention that. So her job sponsored the visa, but you have to maintain that. Like in order to stay in the United States, you have to stay employed at the place that sponsored your visa originally.
Yeah.
But now you want to do a master's degree on top of that.
And so I had to also talk to a lawyer. So, and be like, hey, can I do this while I work full time? And even the lawyer's like, yeah, but are you sure you want to do it? And I'm like, oh my god, it's so, like probably in my head I had this like whole like master's degree that I was doing in Argentina, which was like BS. And I'm like, oh my god, okay. So I started looking into different programs, and I started thinking about, getting the degree in like something related to public policy, but I wasn't like that much. I started, not to like public policy at all, but the thing that I was like, that I kept telling myself is that, okay, you're working at a public, at a place that does public policy. It does make sense, to get a master's degree in a field related to at least like public policy. And so then I started, looking for degrees in, public policy, and they were boring AF. So boring. And I'm like, I moved to the United States to live like, the American dream. And basically, to me, that means, you have this country that it's the land of opportunities that's offering you like way too many opportunities. Are you going to get a master's degree in something you don't even like?
Yeah.
No, just like keep
You get a master's degree whatever the fuck you want. You get a master's degray in
lesbian dance.
In lesbian dance, yeah.
So I was like, okay, keep looking. And then, the project you mentioned, the Human Freedom Index, we deal with, at that point, what I thought it was like a lot of data. And it was my favorite time of the year, to be honest. Because I tried to write some articles, some like op-eds, but, I was like struggling so bad, just like to sit down and think of an idea and then, expand on that idea. And I just like, I'm not really good with words. And so I was struggling with that. And then I realized, oh my God, like this index that you help publish is, your favorite time of the year. So we start working on it at around, June, July, and it gets published in December. So, it's like, well, something related to data. And then I came across the data science term. I'm like, oh, okay, let's, see what this is about. And I just liked it. It's basically like a combination of programming and the part that like computer programming.
Coding.
Yeah. And the part that actually caught my attention was math plus stats. I'm like, I really like that.
So statistics plus coding plus algebra.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
And, calculus too.
Math plus statistics, algebra.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, coding.
Yeah.
All shit that would drive me fucking insane.
Yeah, and and then started looking for universities in DC because I couldn't leave my job. I just had to work, keep that job. And then my options were I applied to George Washington, Georgetown, and I think that was it. Yeah.
You didn't apply to George Mason? All the Georges? I thought you were looking at George.
No, George Mason. No, I didn't. No, because they didn't have like
they had public policy.
Like a hard science program.
Yeah.
They were most. It was like they had a computer science degree, but that was not actually what I wanted to do because like that doesn't necessarily include math and stats.
Right.
So, but the oh my God. So the masters at Georgetown that I was applying to, it was data science applied to public policy. And then it was like during that time, from the moment that I started applying to, the whole, like I started the whole application processes for, the different, degrees, till the moment, I actually submitted my application, I felt like out of love with public policy.
Mm-hmm.
I just, ugh.
Yeah.
I don't like it at all. And so then I was like hoping for Georgetown not to because I was like, my dilemma at that point was like, okay, I had submitted my application for Georgetown, and it was a master's degree in data science applied to public policy. And then I also applied to George Washington University for a master's degree in data science, period. And then I go, okay, if I get accepted at Georgetown, then I'm going to be doing a master's degree that I don't really like. I'm just going to be doing it for the sake of, the name. Mm-hmm. Georgetown. I studied at Georgetown. Mm-hmm. And then, but actually, George Washington University, the master's degree is like way better. And also the courses, they look like awesome. Mm-hmm. And I don't have to go through the whole public policy bullshit.
Yeah.
And
so you end up at George Washington.
I'm just like hoping like Georgetown not to accept me, because like they were,
because you wouldn't have been able to say no.
Yeah. I just like couldn't, because I'm gonna get like this far to apply to Georgetown and then get accepted and just like go to George Washington University. No fucking way, because I like things to the harder things get, the better for me. Mm-hmm. And then, they didn't accept me. Thank fucking God. And they accepted me at GW. So I ended up, accepting, and they offered me a scholarship. Because then I applied, I submitted my application without knowing entirely how much the whole program was going to cost.
Oh, yeah.
And how I was going to, pay for my master's degree. It was like the same thing when I quit my job in Argentina. And then, what are you going to do now? You got to do something. I was like, kind of, I had the same feeling. Like, okay, you got accepted at GW. How the fuck are you going to pay for your master's degree? So I started talking to people, the director of the program, and they sent me like some links to, different scholarships. I ended up getting a scholarship, which helped me big time during that first year, because like also at a 32 and then eventually like 45,000 salary, I wasn't actually able to save a lot of money. Really?
Anyway, I'm shocked that you could save any money on $45,000.
But I was actually saving money because I downloaded an app.
Yeah, I know.
It saved my life.
Yeah.
I downloaded an app that basically takes you link your bank account to the app, and the app takes $5 to $30-ish every day. I just like saves the money for you.
Steals it from you.
Yeah, steals it from you. And I started doing that, and I saved like shit tons of money with that app. And I'm so grateful.
And you used that cash to pay for your master's.
Yeah.
And you ended up getting out of your master's program with no debt.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
And what was the total bill for everything?
The whole program?
Yeah.
$65,000.
And you paid all of that, no debt?
Yeah.
And that includes scholarship?
Yeah.
So it would have been more if you didn't have the scholarship?
No. That would.
So 65 was before the scholarship.
The whole program.
And the scholarship took care of part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And the rest of it you just paid out of pocket.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So the first year I got the scholarship. I think it was like $10,000, I think, or so. But then, so I did my first semester, and the second semester they sent me an email with my like account, like university account update. And there's like something wrong. And I remember like, adding what I like all the payments, because I was like, I enrolled in like a payment plan, because I couldn't pay. I think I was supposed to pay between 15 and 17 per semester. So I had to enroll in a payment plan. And something was not like adding up. And I remember, grabbing the calculator and be like, okay, these guys are saying that I have to pay like $15,000, but something was like wrong. And then I realized that I had thought that the whole master's program cost $30,000.
And that was just 1 year.
And that was 1 year. And I'm like, what?
What have I done?
Because I was like, okay, I got the scholarship like $10,000, and then I can pay another. With a payment plan, I can make I can pay the other like
20.
20. That's like no problem.
No, it's 50.
But now it's like, no. What am I gonna do? what am I gonna do? And at that point, Bitcoin was like skyrocketing. The price of Bitcoin was like skyrocketing. Yeah. And I even like considered, and to me,
I told you, I tried to convince you to sell it. I remember that was winter of 2017 going into 2018. Bitcoin is at an all-time high. Actually, ironically enough, as we speak, I believe it's surpassed that.
24.
Yeah. But anyway, I remember that time, 17 going into 18. I was like, dude, you do not want debt. The last thing you want is debt. Yeah. At least that's how I view finances. Do everything at all costs to be debt free, and maybe.
And also,
but you didn't want to. You wouldn't hold on that fucking Bitcoin. A good thing you did.
Yeah, and so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sell my Bitcoins, and I've always been like super attached to my Bitcoins, because I was giving all these talks starting, in 2011 about Bitcoin, and now I'm gonna sell the things that I'm almost like more attached to. It kind of
got you here. Bitcoin kind of got you into your job here in the United States.
Yeah.
Think about it, because you're giving all those talks about it.
Yeah, and I don't want to sell it. Yeah. I don't want to sell it. So I'm like, okay, think. And then I went to this airplane mode. Do you know when you put your phone in airplane mode? And then you can just like use it basically for just like looking at the time, to know what time it is. And that was me.
That's how you choose your life.
Yeah.
No expenditures
whatsoever. During the fall semester, because that's when I find out that I still need to pay another $50K. So I'm like, what am I gonna do? I considered like way too many options in my head. Like first, like buying Bitcoin to start dancing at the strip club.
Yeah.
And I started doing some research, and I ended up, I ran into a scholarship that GW was offering, and then applied to it, and they said the scholarship was ranged from like 10K to 20, 25, I don't even remember. And I applied to it because also as an immigrant, you cannot apply. So most scholarships are for U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
So on top of, you're not only you do not have the money to pay for your studies, you also have to look for the scholarships that do not require you to be a U.S. citizen, which is probably 70%, 80%. And also I couldn't get
public assistance. Can't get government
loans.
Can't get government loan. Yeah, you got to private
FAFSA. I remember FAFSA. What the fuck is FAFSA? What the fuck is that? So I Google FAFSA. And the requirement, U.S. citizen. Now go fuck yourself. and then I did. I thought about pretty much everything for how to pay for school. So
you went into airplane mode. You saved money.
I saved a lot of money, and I got a scholarship. The scholarship I applied to, 25 fucking K.
Damn.
Yeah. So I did. That helped so much. But then during my last semester, I was at I had in my savings were at $700, and that was pretty much it because I had run out of money, and then I had to start asking my friends for money.
You did?
Yeah.
You had friends in DC who gave you money?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You never asked me for money.
No.
I'm rich as fuck.
So they lent me, I think it was $1,500 to $1,000, something around that. That was the last payment that I had left.
Have you paid them back?
Yeah.
You paid your friends back?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're debt free.
Mm-hmm.
You graduated, sore subject. Technically, you got your piece of paper in May of 2020.
My graduation got canceled because of COVID.
Yeah. Well, you did it. You graduated.
I graduated. I have my master's degree in data science. I'm a very dangerous person. I know how to program. Well, I know how to, write code. I know, math, time series, algebra, calculus. I know how artificial intelligence. That's something I'm really getting into.
And we do need to wrap up here. And we're towards the end now. We're caught up to where we are now. So I'm gonna expedite a little bit, tell a little bit story. But you get obsessed with this shit.
Oh yeah.
And you code constantly, not for your job, but just for fun. And you're constantly taking extra courses on, what do they call it, Coursera, Masterclass,
Yeah.
through Harvard or whatever. You know,
Yeah.
Harvard does their shit. So you're in, like, you're balls deep into coding, artificial intelligence world.
Yeah.
What do you want to do next? Like, talk us briefly here, if you can, in like the next 15 minutes. Talk us about what are your what are your professional aspirations as you move away from kind of libertarianism and public policy? What do you want to do professionally in this next phase of your life? And then also personally, what do you want for your life? Outside of your job, what do you want for your life? Tell us, you know, going forward, you just turned 30, it's a new era of your life. Just to let people know, Guillermina, fingers crossed, is going to get her green card
Next year.
in 2021, which means she's going to be a citizen before you know it. So,
Well, a permanent resident.
What I'm saying is, you're on the path to being
yeah.
a citizen. Next step, you're going to be a permanent resident, which means you're on the path to being a citizen for real. Like, you're 5 years into the United States now. Over 5 years you've been in the United States. Over 5 years you've been working at this job in DC. You're a fucking American. You're like more American than I am at this point. And you have your advanced degree. You have now a more clear path of what you want to pursue professionally. But also, you're 30 years old. You know, I know you're thinking about what you want to do personally in your personal life. So talk to us about what do you want to do in the future?
So as I said, I fell in love with data science. I got to the point where I don't see myself like doing anything else. And I think, it all makes sense because, I remember working at my first job with these like spreadsheets and I wasn't complaining at all. And, then at, my current job, I'm working on, this index and basically what I did is like, I applied everything I learned in school and I automized the whole thing. So now with like, I can do in 20 minutes what it used to take probably 2 months. So I automized the whole thing with, applying all this like programming thing that I learned at GW and some like also math, and I incorporated like some other like stats like models to the index and so on. So I think I got to a point where I don't see myself like doing anything else. I got into also artificial intelligence. So basically what that means is like if you have an iPhone, I think X or whatever, and the iPhone that I uses Face ID to unlock your phone, that's basically what artificial intelligence is. It's like recognizes your face or like some features, specific features in your face, and it like for the iPhone, it unlocks your phone. But that artificial intelligence or deep learning technology, I fell in love with also. So, and I started like working on projects like on my own. I created like like some sort of like algorithm that classifies, like it can tell you whether if you have fake boobs or natural boobs. So that's basically what I'm doing in my spare time, during the weekends. I just like do it for fun. It's like crazy that I learned all this stuff. I have to do something with it. And I don't see myself again like doing anything else. I would like to become eventually like a machine learning engineer, which basically is like work on statistical models and try to predict. Let's say if you work at a retail store, you can predict sales, or if you work at a like what is it, like Lyft or one of those like companies, you can predict the number of users that are going to log in to the app at certain like time of the day, or how many like customers you're going to have, or how many drivers are going to join like your company. So you can make like all those like sort of predictions, and then identifying like some patterns in the data, you can draw conclusions, so you can change your decision making based on some patterns that you find in data. And that you can only do with machine learning, all these like techniques that combine both programming, math, and statistics. That's I think like basically. So I would like eventually to become a machine learning engineer or like a data scientist. They use like all this like jargon, but it's like basically you just like use stats and math with programming to predict or become part of the decision making process. And it's like cool because like you can actually apply it to anything from image classification, and you can I worked in a school project that was, you have to identify through images, you had to classify the images on whether, the cells in the image, the like body cells in the image were infected with malaria or not. So you can work in, image recognition, and you can just like do time series, which is like basically prediction of, sales or users or whatever. So it's like very broad, but it's a very broad career, but with very like kind of like limited like skills that you need to do that to do your job. So that's what I eventually like to do. When it comes to my professional career, I also like started flirting with the idea of getting a PhD in machine learning. But I think that's something that I'm just like thinking about, because I'm really like into it. But then I don't know if I'm gonna end up doing that. I don't know if I want to do like research, have a career like as a machine learning researcher. I just want to do stuff.
Right.
And then at a personal level, I turned 30 when like 5 months ago or so, 6. And it's like time for me to start thinking about building a family and have kids and
building them out of code.
I wish.
Building a family. I like the way you put that.
Well, building a and like having kids and a partner, a long life partner.
Long life partner.
Lifelong. I keep like switching.
Well, it's because not to get into the weeds, but it's because I keep like pushing the discussion away from the word marriage and husband and wife, and so now G's trying to like adopt these like fucking weird,
which don't make sense. It's like I'm trying to say that I want a person for like right next to me, hopefully for the rest of my life, and that's what I'm trying to say. But this guy is like scared as fuck of that word. Anyway, so that's what I would like to do.
So you want to have kids?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
How many kids do you want?
I think like 2, maybe 3, but it depends on how old I am when I'm have my last child, like my second child.
And like, what do you think about like where you live? Do you want to stay in the United States? Do you want to live elsewhere? Do you want to travel? Like, what
I still want to travel. I mean, now I haven't.
You always want to travel? Like, do you foresee yourself traveling always, even into old age?
Yeah. Even like, I would like to do something like similar to what my parents did.
Right.
Just like take, I don't know, like 2-3 weeks and just like go somewhere. Pick, I don't know, a country or like a region, like let's say, I don't know, Eastern Europe, and just like spend all those like 3 weeks just like traveling around like Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
And that's what I would like to do. I mean, I'm also like, the good thing is that I'm used to both, like traveling with someone and traveling by myself. So even if I had to do it like by myself, I'm 100% okay with it. Like most of the trips that I've taken, I was by myself.
Right.
So yeah, I wanna keep traveling for sure.
And you want to live in the United States? Do you think?
100%. I'm gonna get my citizenship. I'm not gonna stop until I get my citizenship. I'm getting my green card.
Not gonna stop. Stop what?
Well, I'm not gonna stop. I don't know. I am not gonna stop until I get my citizenship.
And then you just get your citizenship?
Once I get my citizenship, I'm gonna buy a gun.
Is that the first thing you're gonna do?
Yeah.
And then, do you think that do you foresee yourself like dying in the United States?
100%. I wasn't born an American, but I'm gonna live and die as an American.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Live free or die hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby. But do you think at some point in between here and death, you'll live anywhere else permanently? Like, could you see yourself living in fucking China, in Germany, in the Congo?
Not China, definitely not China. I don't like Chinese food. I don't like Asian food. No, not China. Not Asia. I'm open, to travel around, Asia, but I'm never gonna live there. But yeah, I mean, I would be open to, live in a different country, 100%.
But you consider
for the short term. I mean, I'm gonna die in America.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die in America. And they're gonna bury me in America. I'm not gonna be buried in Argentina. I made that clear to everyone. Everyone I meet, I'm like, okay, just like, okay, do you see me? Okay, this is G. If I ever die, I'm telling that to like most, like everyone I meet. I want to be buried, so they have like enough witnesses, so they bury me in America. I don't want to be, I don't want like people to take my body to Argentina. I don't want to be buried in Argentina. I want to be buried in America. So yeah, so I'm gonna die in America and I'm gonna be buried here.
All right, we're gonna end it there.
Okay, so now if you guys find my body in the next like couple of months, then you know.
You know where to put it.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a feeling this is not going to be the last time you're on the Alex Clark Youngblood podcast, and we look forward to having you back, especially as the newly anointed Alex Clark Youngblood International Women's Field Hockey Correspondent.
Okay.
Which is a title you just received. So we look forward to your first report, and we also look forward to hopefully many other episodes with you on them discussing a variety of topics, not just international women's field hockey.
I can talk about whatever you want.
All right.
I can talk about whatever you want.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. Adios.
Bye.